What are we talking about today? I'm trying to get on YouTube. Well, we're going to have Banfield tonight. Brian Enton is going to be hosting Banfield, I guess, because she's out. Oh, let me turn YouTube around. Turn this mic around. We can talk a little bit about the stuff that happened with Michigan. There's actually another active shooting event right now in Texas. There will probably be some stuff. Thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. There will be probably some Murdoch stuff today. Amazing parade today in KC. Very nice. Yep. Winning the Super Bowl. Yeah, Enton does need his own show. I totally agree. Totally agree. Yep, the shooting is in El Paso. That's right. We're so far 1 dead, 3 injured. El Paso at a mall. It's happening right now. It's another shooting, another shooter. Let's see. Let me refresh here. Oh, thank you, Monkey, for the follow. We act like this is a surprise now. It's like there's several a week. I did a video today. It was like there's been like since 2009, 366 mass shootings. Sorry, since 1999, 366 mass shootings. 46 of those were in 2022 alone, or at least school shootings. Let's see. I'm going to pull this up real quick. Let's see. This is 12 minutes ago. Well, thank you, Tammy, for the follow. Let me see if it says anything. I will try to tell you guys. I'm sure they're going to probably talk about it. Okay, they have a suspect in custody, so I guess it's over. At least one person is dead, 3 are injured, and authorities have one suspect in custody. I was in high school when Columbine happened. Columbine changed everything. I was a junior when it happened, and it really did change everything. It was at the food court. Thank you, Lars. It was at the food court as well. Yes, another shooting in El Paso, Texas. I am streaming on YouTube as well, yes. What's going on? Did something happen? Yeah, basically, I'm sure we're going to have some more stuff come tonight. There's definitely going to be some stuff I want to chat about today. Banfield, which is going to be probably hosted by, I think what I understand correctly, is going to be hosted by Brian Enton tonight. We can do it afterwards. I don't define mass shooting. There is a law. I want to make sure I quote this correctly to you guys. There's a law. It's actually like an actual. I'm trying to find the. Oh, I talked about it earlier. I actually even quoted it in something. But basically, I know that it basically it's multiple people shot or wounded. So I know that there's one rule. It's called a certain something when at least 3 people die. And then it's also with the amount of people. So when you're talking about, in this case, in Texas, in El Paso, there's been at least 4 people shot. So that's mass. It could be 3 or more, though, depending on the situation. Mass is usually 3 or more. But there was a specific thing that here it is. Is this what it is? The investigative. Oh my God, investigative. Where is it? I just had it. Investigative Assistance for Violent Crimes Act of 2012. That's what it is. Violent Crimes Act of 2012. Hello, happy Black History Month to you as well. Funny, right before I came on, I just posted a video clapping back on a racist. So that is what we do for Black History Month around here. Oh, we're definitely going to be talking about the toxic spills tonight. That is horrible. Absolutely horrible. No, kids should not have to go through this. There was somebody on TikTok, my wife showed it to me, where their preschoolers getting ready to have. Let this sink in for you guys for a second. Yeah, we're gonna watch Banfield here in a minute. We're basically. Well, maybe I'll let it get caught up first too. Let me check real quick. See if I make sure I'm recording it. But I like to get it caught up so I can fast forward through stuff. Give me 1 second here, guys. Anyway, sorry, I'm trying to delete this. Okay, anyways, yeah, let me finish my thought. So preschool was, and what they're doing is for the kids that are like 3 and 4 years old, because they want to make sure that they can stay quiet. They're going to be giving them lollipops to remind them to be quiet in the event that somebody comes in, because preschoolers have to worry about this. I have a preschooler. I'm very disheartened. All right, so Banfield's going to start recording here in a minute. So we can talk for a little bit, and then that way, once it's going, we can go on and fast forward. So, hello, yes, it's late. Thank you for joining. I know it's late over there. It's about the time that I can get on. So, it's just, guys, it's terrible. What a time to be alive. Yep, active shooter incidents. I'm trying to see what's going on. All right. Hold on, I'm trying to fix it. Actually, okay. Yeah. Lars, did something happen at the Walmart over there as well? Are you nervous over this weather tonight? I don't think we're getting bad weather tonight, are we? I think tomorrow's the problem. Tomorrow we are at a level 3, like for like our weather. It's like 1 through 5 is the levels you can get that you're going to have weather that could spew a tornado. We're going to be at a level 3 tomorrow. It's the beginning of tornado season. We're pretty much right there. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of issues going on. I have 2 college kids, one a junior, one over a mall in El Paso. Yeah, I know. We were just talking, Diane, about the El Paso shooter a second ago. And I will tell you guys for over here, because we have 400 some people in here. If anybody does want to jump over to YouTube and follow me there, obviously I would appreciate that. I'm in the Nashville area, but the chat moves a lot slower, so I can usually see people's questions a lot faster. So just to let y'all know that you don't have to, but you could. So because there's only 52 people on the YouTube side. Thank you, Rose, for the follow. Yeah, it's just, every day. Or not every day, but it's a lot of, there's a lot of them. You saw your video about the MSU students. Me and my wife don't want to have kids because we believe. I'm going to look for your rest of your comment here in a second. Can one do both apps? I don't know how you can do 2 at once. I know that I'm actually streaming on 4 platforms at once. But I don't know how to let y'all look at the same one at the same time. Well, part of Tennessee and Pennsylvania are in the same time zone. Nashville Central Time, but once you get past like Cookeville, Crossville, that gets back to Eastern Time. What state are you in that has a tornado risk numbers like 1, 2, 3, etc.? I'm in Tennessee. Yes, and YouTube is better. Do I think that no, I don't. You're from Crossville? Nice. I don't think there's no connection to the university. Yeah, 67 so far this year, and we're only in February. Megan, we're good. How are you? Thank you, Chris, for the follow. What? Well, that's confusing if you live. It's very confusing because for my job, I have both as a territory. So it's just, yeah. Hey, Abby. Did you guys see the Buffalo shooter? He got life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Hey, Tammy. I was in Alabama during the April tornadoes that tore through Tuscaloosa and northern Alabama. Yeah, we barely missed those Kentucky ones because we're toward the northern part. Well, hey there in Detroit. Well, thank you for subscribing on YouTube. I definitely appreciate it. I'm really trying to build a following there. And I'm actually starting to get I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of getting a little worried and thinking like, well, maybe I need to push my other platforms a little bit more because they are seriously taking up a committee now to try to permanently ban TikTok. Now, personally speaking, I don't think they're going to be successful in permanently banning TikTok. But just in case, I'm like, well, maybe I should push my other platforms just in case, like Insta and YouTube. But anyways. Yeah, people do I'm constantly in trouble on here, always. That's why I was thank you, Don, for the follow. that's yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah. So, anyways, if y'all want to follow me, all my social medias. I'm actually working on a website too. I bought the domain based on some good advice, Justin on TikTok.com, and I need to do it. But I'm gonna put all my social medias on there as well. You can't figure out. There's a box the way you can comment on YouTube. I'm sure somebody will tell you. Yeah, they already banning. Some states are already banning state devices. Oh, you get notifications when I go live on YouTube. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I get it for the couple people that I follow, like Pascal. I don't know if he was charged with federal crimes, Susan. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Let me look here real quick. Okay, yeah, we are recording the first one. So Banfield has been on for about 5 minutes. Let's give it another 10 minutes or so, and then we can turn around and watch it. That way we can. Okay, you click on live chat. There you go. I have not seen that. If one of my mods wants to pin that, they can. I can see your questions, though. I'll pin it, though. There you go. No, Ethan's best friend is the one who called 911. Didn't tell Dylan to. They called 911. What time is Banfield on? It is on right now. And YouTube exclusives will help the shift from TikTok to YouTube. Yes, that's true. And I have done a couple YouTube exclusives. And the other thing, too, at least for I don't know where she is. I should message her. The other thing that I've done, too, is I post a lot of stuff. And actually, I do this just so I don't get banned on TikTok. But I post a lot of stuff on Instagram. Like, for example, that I did a clapback video just before I got on about somebody in the Adriana Cush suicide video. Not her suicide video, but the bullying video. She committed suicide. And I posted the actual bullying video on Instagram because I know they won't take it down, whereas TikTok would. I also post a lot of court documents and stuff on there because, you can't really make a video with court documents. So I put those on there as well. Anyway, so. But yeah, we'll do Banfield in a few minutes, and then we have lots of stuff that we can talk about. What breaking news is happening tonight? Another mass shooting in Texas. Does Insta let you do lives? Yes, Insta does let me do lives. I've actually done one live on Instagram, and I only had like 17 or 25 people in it, I think, max. So I was like, well, Yep. They have arrested somebody for that, though. Do you think it was Ethan's brother? They're just saying best friend. Okay, so I want to pin this comment because this is a good comment. This is actually a discussion my wife and I had. So the question is in regards to, okay, so for anybody on both platforms or people just coming in to give you a little background, read that comment. So basically we learned the other night on Banfield that the 911 call came from basically Ethan's best friend is what they've said. They didn't name a name specifically because of anonymity. But that being said, my wife and I were talking about this and wondering because, he was a triplet, right? So perhaps, they called it his best friend, maybe, I don't know, it's possible, but, it wouldn't be unlike, because if they said brother, then that would be obviously very obvious, protecting anonymity. The thoughts crossed my mind. Yes, we were just talking about the shooting in El Paso. Greg, I would rather ban TikTok than literally do anything to stop mass. Yeah, well, no one Idaho call come out or something today. It came out yesterday, and the call itself, Gia, did not come out, but who made the call did. Could be a frat brother, absolutely. Do you think it's odd Dylan didn't open the bedroom door? The best friend did. No, I don't find that odd. Just because you room with somebody doesn't mean that you know them to the point that you feel comfortable opening their bedroom door. I had my first roommate in college. To this day, I don't even know what his real first name was, much less last name. And I lived with him for a year, so it's very possible. So I will give it just a couple more minutes, like 5 more minutes, and we'll switch to Banfield. Brian Inton's hosting that, and I'm just doing it a few minutes late so I can fast forward through commercials and things like that. I know they're going to be starting with the Murdoch trial. I know that the Murdoch trial the last couple of days has been a little wild, so hopefully we'll get some good information from that. Perhaps afterwards we can get Alyssa to come on. No, I'm not in Ohio. I'm in Tennessee. But we are going to talk about how do we feel? Okay, so if you guys want to stick with me till the end, I am going to talk about the Ohio situation, the train derailments a little bit for sure. 100% want to talk about that. Banfield's typically about an hour with us fast forwarding through commercials, call it 45 minutes. Yeah, just because you live with someone doesn't mean anything. Exactly. I think his name was Leon, but he was a Chinese exchange student, and his accent was so thick it was very hard for me to understand. But I think it was Leon. Lori. Actually, so fun, I'm going to Zoe. I love what you're asking. You're asking great questions. I hope you follow me because you're asking great questions. So I do watch Lori. Her and I are actually mutuals and friends. We are talking about after Murdoch doing a case together as like a collab, and we're talking about possibly doing the suitcase killer. So yes, yeah. They found somebody that night on the MSU shooting. Yeah, I haven't seen the HBO documentary yet. I'd love to stream that for you guys. Yes, I did know that, Casey. Oh, thank you for the follow. Yes, Lawyer Lori is in South Carolina, in Columbia. Yes, so her and I are friends. Like I said, we're going to do a case together. She's very, very smart. I kind of like her. I like her demeanor with everything too. So, please recap what happened in El Paso. Yes, another shooting event at a mall. At least one person dead, 3 injured. They do have a suspect in custody. Yes, if you guys love Lawyer Lori and you don't follow, definitely do that because we are going to be doing collabs together on probably the suitcase killer. So if y'all want to watch that, I think it'll be good. That's my opinion. I could be full of shit. I don't know. I mean, we're going to do it. I could be full of shit about it being good. Do you ever watch Unsolved Mysteries Netflix? I'm obsessed. I haven't watched Unsolved Mysteries since the 90s. The suitcase killer case. Oh, and I do have something to talk to you guys about the Boston Strangler. I want y'all's advice on something. I'll ask you guys afterwards. But I actually got emailed by 20th Century Fox to possibly do a promotion for them on the Boston Strangler, a show they have coming up. So I might want your ideas on what would be like maybe attention grabbing. So that's kind of exciting. Actually, I did start doing research into the show after they emailed me, and it actually looks really good, to be honest with you. How do you keep up with these cases? It's hard. That's why I kind of backed off a little bit on the Murdoch case, because the Murdoch case was so incredibly time consuming. It was taking away from my job. It was taking away from my family. And it's just such a convoluted case. Sometimes you got to pick and choose. Look at there, somebody offering me something. I don't know where the suit. I haven't started doing that much information. Let me look. Suitcase killer. We'll get a couple more questions, and then it'll be time for Banfield. Suitcase killer. Where was it? It's the Melanie McGuire story. Melanie McGuire's a victim of Bill's White. She dismembers the bodies, taking them in suitcases. She was charged in 2005. Discovered one in Chesapeake Bay. I'm trying to see where it was. Y'all might know. Let me see. Maybe I can. Maybe there's a wiki on her. Hold on. All right. She was born in New Jersey, and she's imprisoned in New Jersey. So there you go, New Jersey. I don't know any updates on the Shinquella Robinson case. I don't know. There's no updates that I know on her case. There's no updates on Anna Walsh. There's no updates on Nicola Bully. So a lot of them are kind of dry right now. You need to apologize for being a jerk in your life before. Oh, I didn't. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Tater. I don't know. I don't remember what you did that was a jerk, but I appreciate you owning that and saying that. Thank you for that. Seriously. I don't know what you did, but thank you. And you're forgiven. What about the kid fishing? Any updates? So that one, a lot of people asked me to cover that one. There's a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding that. Yes, I did a video on Raquel Welch as well today. Yeah, that is notable to apologize. Very admirable, very stand up. Anyways, I don't know. Well, anyways, let me go back to that. Anyway, I personally think, yeah, we're talking about Tyler Doyle. I personally think that that he fell overboard fishing. I don't think there's much of a story there. Unfortunately, I think it's somebody that fell overboard, probably drowned. The likelihood of finding the body is going to be slim. I don't think that there's foul play because there's so many things. Yeah, Brian, we're about to turn Banfield on like in a second. In fact, we can probably do that now. We can go. Let's go do that now. Alexa, turn off theater. All right. Allow you two iconic movie posters, top 3 movies. They're not the top 3. I'll say this before I go. So on this side, I have an original Back to the Future 2 poster, then Ferris Bueller, and I love Eurotrip. Now, Eurotrip is it's one of my favorite movies. Very underrated. I love Ferris Bueller, classic, 80s film. And then I have Back to the Future because I have a DeLorean. So that's why. All right, I'm going to turn you guys around. Thank you for the follow, Jessica. I'm going to turn you guys around, and we're going to watch some Banfield, guys. Let me turn you guys around too. I gotta turn the YouTube folks around also. Give me 1 second, I'll straighten y'all out. All right. I'll straighten you guys out. Can y'all see okay? Hopefully y'all can see okay.
Just about 11 days before the killing, they had a meeting with.
Actually, tonight there is new reporting in the Idaho murders. It is coming out almost every night, and tonight we are learning just how well it pays to defend an accused killer. The amount it might really, really surprise you. Remember, we are talking about a public defender here. We're going to get into it in just a bit and explain it all to you. Then the latest on the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case. They're accused of killing Vallow's children and Daybell's former wife in a twisted tale that has Vallow dubbed the Doomsday Mom. The trial is coming up. We're going to get you up to speed. Plus, new revelations in the case of Gabby Petito. Did Brian Laundrie's mom really write her son a letter with the message, "Burn after reading"? What else was in the letter, and how could it impact the civil lawsuit? We're going to break it all down. But first, jurors in the Low Country today were shown never-before-seen video of a tense interview between Alec Murdoch and the lead investigator in the Murdoch murder case. It took place in August 2021, 2 months after the murders, and Murdoch was asked point blank whether he killed his wife and son. It's an interview Murdoch did voluntarily. His lawyer at the time was present and was there. Take a look at this.
And you didn't go back down there after dinner until you returned from visiting your mother? Yes, sir. This is the Snapchat video that I'm talking about from Paul's phone.
Okay, I tell you what, yeah, we were laughing about that because he's laughing because I've gone to great lengths to try to, a tree got knocked over, and I've gone to great lengths to try to get it to, be upright.
Okay.
And,
was that night? Because the friends that we talked to said it was posted that night.
I'm not sure.
Did you kill Maggie?
Did I kill my wife?
Yes.
No, David.
Do you know who did?
No, I do not know who did it.
Did you kill Paul?
No, I did not kill Paul.
Do you know who did?
No, sir, I do not know who did it. Do you think I killed Maggie?
I have to go where the evidence and the fact
I understand that. And you think I killed Paul?
I have to go where the evidence and the facts take me, and I don't have anything that points to anybody else at this time.
So does that mean that I am a suspect?
You were still in, like I told Corey earlier, you were still in this with everything that we've talked about, with the family guns, the ammunition. Nobody else's DNA. I have to put my beliefs aside and go with the facts.
The way that this interview played out in court was really, really interesting. Let's bring in Andrew Davis. He's an investigative reporter with our News Nation partner in Savannah, and he has been covering the case every day very closely.
Let me see if I can do captions for you guys. Somebody saw somebody say it. I don't know if I have the options. Let me look. Sorry. Okay, there you go. Oh, I don't want to.
Points me now. All right, Andrew, that interview, it went on for an hour and a half. And I think what was so interesting was that the story that Murdoch told was different from what we've heard him say other times, specifically when it comes to how long he was at his mother's house, which was a big part of this case, and also whether or not he had been at the dog kennel. So jurors have now heard two different versions of the story, it seems.
Well, they've heard three, really, when you look at it, too, Brian, because he started out with that initial sort of interview or talk with the first investigator on the scene. Then he did an interview that night in the car, and then this one, which was 2 months later. So you're looking at a lot of things, and really, if you play the words, time has not been on Alec Murdaugh's side so far. He's told different stories about how long he was at his mom's house. He's saying in this video as much as an hour to an hour and a half. Meanwhile, they're saying he was actually there only 20 to 30 minutes if it matched the timeline. We've got two different videos, including the Snapchat video they talked about, which place him at the house in the area at least an hour and then only 5 minutes before basically the shootings happen. The Snapchat video they're talking about, he's wearing completely different clothes than when investigators arrive on the scene. His only answer for that was simply, well, then I must have changed somewhere. And his answer to the timeline questions so far have been, well, they must have got it wrong because I know where I was, or maybe I got it wrong, I'm not sure. So none of it has made much sense. They've also gotten into issues with shell casings that were found on the scene, and that he had family guns that shot and killed his wife and son, and he really didn't have much of a reaction to it. So early on, prosecutors made a big deal about it in the morning, seemed to be going in their favor.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to get to. I was watching this play out in court, watching the video, thinking, wow, what a win for the prosecution this is. But then this took a very, very strange turn after the video was played, because the defense basically ripped apart the detective who was interviewing Murdoch, and everything just seemed to twist around all of a sudden.
Yeah, it flipped on its ear. Jim Griffin, the defense attorney, did an incredible job in putting Detective Owen on the spot. And what he did was really made him question even some of the only things that he said. The biggest one probably that came up from Detective Owen was he said, well, there were two guns found on the property, and they both had buckshot and birdshot inside them, which is what killed Paul Murdoch in this case. But actually, that wasn't true, and they held his feet to the fire and said that absolutely wasn't true. Defense attorneys broke down everything. They said, did you actually go look for the shirt and shoes and shorts and pants that he was wearing in that Snapchat video? Well, actually, they didn't. Did they go to Moselle, the main house of this property where they were killed the night of the shooting? Well, no, they didn't go for months before they actually showed up there. Did you search his mom's house where he went? No, they never did search his mom's house that night, and took them another week or so before they got there to actually search it. So in the end, the defense absolutely eviscerated much of what went on in the morning, and prosecutors were left somewhat scrambling to figure out, how do we get the jury back on our side and understand what's going on? In addition to that, they brought up new, completely different information about the Walterboro Cowboys, who are a local gang, and how Alec Murdoch was spending $50,000 a week on drugs through our guy, Eddie Smith, Curtis Eddie Smith, and the gang suddenly involved. And I think the jury's heads are just spinning by now.
Yeah, it was like a roller coaster today, Andrew. Again, you felt like, wow, win for the prosecution. Then defense goes, rips the whole thing apart. You said it. I mean, it was all over the place. Another big development, perhaps the other biggest development of the day, is you remember, if you've been following this case, Murdoch had this assisted suicide issue. Cousin Eddie, he wanted him to help him commit suicide. We weren't sure whether that was going to be part of the trial, whether it was going to be allowed to brought in. This was also sort of strange. In the morning, judge says, no, we're not going to let it in, then changes his mind and says that is going to come in. How did that all go down?
Well, the judge did. Judge Newman was very definitive, said it's just a bridge too far in the morning. But then when the cross-examination of Owen came out, the SLED agent himself, the defense brought in Cousin Eddie, brought in some of these things with this shooting on the side of the road where Alex said he was doing it to get $11 million for his son, Buster, in insurance money. And they brought it all up. And then they brought in this Walterboro Cowboys and the fact that there was a lot of drug money going through everybody and a lot of money because Curtis Eddie Smith has already got 50 checks written out to him from Alec from previous in these financial crimes where he was laundering money for Alec. And maybe he was stealing some, they're saying now. And maybe it was going through the gang. Suddenly the defense has brought everything back in and said, well, maybe this gang had something to do with it instead. And the judge had no choice but to say, well, you've opened the door. Now it's time. We'll let everything in. So if you want to call Eddie Smith, if you want to talk about this roadside shooting, go ahead because the defense started it for you.
Man, this thing is just going to go on forever. You're going to be stuck out there for weeks. They keep bringing more stuff in, Andrew. You're doing a great job. Thank you for joining us tonight. Next, I want to bring in Ronnie Richter to help us understand all of this, and there's so much to it. He's one of the attorneys for the Satterfield family and other victims of Alan Murdoch. Gloria Satterfield, you remember, was the family's longtime housekeeper who died after a fall at their home. Ronnie, thanks for being with us. First of all, what do you make of this interview that was played today for the jury? Again, it seemed like a win, but then it almost became like a roller coaster ride. How do you think it all shook out in the end?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's stunning that it exists at all. That Alex is a third-generation solicitor. His family held that seat for 100 years. He's a lawyer himself. I mean, he of all people would know that you don't volunteer statements to the police. His question, he at times tried to turn his interview into an interview of the police. It was very transparent that they were there to find out information from the solicitors, from the prosecution, about what the evidence was in the case. And for him to be so bold as even say, am I a suspect? I mean, come on, Alec. Yes, you knew that from day one, from moment one. You're the one who found the bodies. You're the one who called 911. Your immediate next of kin. I mean, he of all people knows that he is the prime suspect. So to be there giving that interview and asking that question, there were several points in time where he tried to turn the interview against SLED, against the investigators in an effort to fish for information about what they knew about the crimes. And I thought that was very transparent.
Yeah, it was very interesting when he started asking them questions, sort of unexpected. But is it possible the jury could be sitting there, Ronnie, thinking, well, this guy didn't have to do all these interviews. He's being open and honest. I mean, he could have just said no, but he's talking every single time. I mean, could it end up helping him?
I mean, it could. Some jurors could perceive it that way. And that's the trick box you're in every time in a circumstance like this. To not cooperate is to fuel the suspicion with the investigators that you had something to do with it. Of course, that suspicion is already there. You're a person of interest when you're the one who calls 911 and you're immediate next of kin. So that was a given. But yes, I can see where some people on the jury would see this as someone who's being very forthright with nothing to hide. The problem in the state's case so far is I like to say there's too many dots, not enough lines. And if you're pushing all of this off to the end to connect those dots, for a jury who's been there for 18 trial days now without notes, it's a lot to push to the end and to connect up in one closing argument.
I think you make a really, really good point, because even someone who's been following this, it's hard to follow. There's so many twists and turns, and you have to wonder what the jury is thinking. We'll see when closing arguments happen, if they're able to connect it all when they happen. I mean, at this point, it feels like this thing is going to go on forever. Ronnie Richter, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate your time. Okay, let's move on to Idaho now. Ashley Banfield's exclusive reports They have helped shed light on the murders of those 4 university students. And now we are learning new details on what will happen for the foreseeable future for the accused killer and his public defender. Local TV station KREM is reporting that Kootenai County has agreed to pay Ann Taylor $200 per hour, $200 an hour for a 40-hour work week. It's clear that is going to add up very, very fast. We'll break it down for you. $8,000 a week. That is more than $380,000 a year. And again, she is a public defender. This could go on for a while. Joining me now with some thoughts about that and the other new details that have been uncovered recently in the case is Jennifer Koffendorfer, a friend of mine, former FBI agent who's been following this case very, very closely. All right, Jennifer, let's start with this new development today of what the public defender is getting paid. I saw you just tweeted about it. What do you make of it?
I was very surprised, and let me tell you why. She's a government county employee. I can tell you that the law enforcement officers that were investigating that case, those 60 FBI agents, the state detectives, their salaries did not get doubled because they were working a quadruple homicide. I've been trying to research. It's been a short period of time that I've known about this. I've never known of something like this to happen with a public defender to have their salary increase. Her previous salary was noted as $119,000 to $172,000, probably dependent on overtime figured into that. And now she could be making about $384,000, and that is without overtime. And her co-counsel making $180 an hour for 40 hours. So this is big, Brian. It's a lot of money, and I don't understand how they can do it.
Yeah, you make a good point. I hadn't thought about that. The detectives don't get paid more money or anything like that. But I will say we have to remember this is a death penalty case. It takes a lot of expertise. It's a difficult case. I called a few friends of mine who were in the field before this, right when we found out. They weren't terribly surprised. They said they would have thought the number may have been closer to $100 an hour. But certainly when you add it all up, and $384,000 a year, I think that came as a surprise to a lot of us. Okay, let's move on. Ashley Banfield has had a lot of exclusive reporting over the last week or so. Last night, really a big development with what she reported about the 911 call. She says that according to her sources, it was Ethan's best friend who made the call from Dylan's phone. You'll remember that was the morning after the murders. We didn't know who made the phone call. Now, according to the sources, it was Ethan's best friend. Why do you think that's important, and how do you think that sort of fits into what we already knew, Jennifer?
Well, of course, this was information that was kind of dribbling through social media very early on, and now we have a source also reporting it. You know, it's going to be important, Brian, to know who all was there. Law enforcement obviously already does know, but all these details are going to become very important to the timeline and to also who was in that crime scene right after those murders were committed and before law enforcement was there.
Yeah, and we've got the gag order now, which explains why a lot of people are not talking. But it also sort of makes sense why so many of these people involved weren't talking even before the gag order. We didn't realize at the time, but a lot of them apparently are witnesses in the case.
Absolutely. They're witnesses, and they're important witnesses. And it's important that they're not out in the public talking. It can really taint their testimony later on if they even make one statement that doesn't seem to go with another statement. That's a defense counsel's dream and a prosecution's nightmare.
So when we had the affidavit, Jennifer, there was the line about Dylan being frozen in fear. That, you know, when all of this was happening, she saw a man walk by in a mask and was frozen in fear. And there was a lot of confusion about what took so long to make the 911 call. But when you piece together some of Ashley's reporting, her reporting is now indicating that Dylan didn't necessarily know that something bad was going on upstairs, that there were just noises, that, you know, it was a party house. It may have been something else going on. And perhaps that's why she didn't initially call, and then now we know that it was Ethan's best friend who used her phone to make the call and made the discovery. How do you think all of those new tidbits fit into the timeline? Does it make sense to you?
Well, the bedrock of this case in terms of what we have in the public as far as facts is that probable cause affidavit. That's the cornerstone of the case as we know it right now factually. If you look at that, there were 3 different times she opened that door. And so these statements that are being made by the source certainly make sense with her first time she opened the door, where she talked about hearing possibly Kaylee playing with Murphy. And possibly there could be more that was stated. Remember, Brian, in these interviews and the interview of Dylan Mortensen, it is going to be pages long, possibly hours long of recorded interview time. So the PCA just has a small snippet of what was said. So I think both statements can be true, but the bottom line is I do believe she was frozen. She was terrified when she saw that figure in her doorway.
Yeah, it's a good point that she opened the door several different times and may have had a different reaction each time. Jennifer, thanks so much for coming on tonight. It's always good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Brian.
Okay, still to come tonight. We've got a very filled show tonight. One of the most anticipated murder trials of the year. Well, it now has a start date. After the break, I'll tell you when it begins and give you a refresher on everything you need to know about this bizarre case heading into the trial.
Now more than ever, America is discovering news.
He's ready. And that's how you collect coin.
Murder case that is headed to trial, the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case. Vallow and her husband Daybell are set to be tried jointly on charges of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The deaths of Vallow's children, Joshua J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan, and for the death of Daybell's late wife, Tammy Daybell. Lawyers for the two had filed a motion to dismiss the charges against them for the lack of a speedy trial. Vallow was arrested in February 2020, and Daybell was arrested back in June of 2020. And under Idaho law, a person facing criminal charges must go to trial within 6 months from the date of arraignment unless good cause can be shown. Vallow was arraigned in April 2022, which means her trial should have begun by October 2022. But this week, after hearing arguments, Judge Stephen Boyce denied their motion and actually set an April 3rd date for the start of the trial. It is a big case that made headlines literally all around the world. It inspired documentaries by virtually every single streaming service. Still, many people probably can't remember all of the ins and outs and bizarre facts. There's so many with this case. So to get you ready for the trial, we've put together this refresher of everything that has happened to get us to this moment. Take a look. If Lori Vallow Daybell and her fifth husband, Chad Daybell, are innocent as they claim to be, if they're not the murderous psychopaths the prosecutors claim they are, then they've been lightning rods for tragedy. In a span of just 7 months before Vallow was first arrested in early 2020, her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, was shot to death. Her 7-year-old special needs son, JJ, and her 17-year-old daughter, Tylee, disappeared, never to be seen again. And Chad Daybell's wife at the time, Tammy, died in her sleep. 2 weeks after that, with JJ and Tylee still missing and the subjects of a nationwide search, Chad and Lori married each other. In their own twisted way, they were soulmates. Lori was raised Mormon, but her own beliefs morphed and darkened as she grew up and lived through one failed marriage after another. By marriage number 4 to Charles Vallow, she was devouring the apocalyptic books and doomsday prophecies that Chad Daybell was peddling. That's when he wasn't working his day job as a copy editor or his part-time job as, well, wait for it, a grave digger in eastern Idaho. In late 2017, Lori and Daybell met face-to-face for the first time at a cult-like gathering in Utah. He reportedly told her they'd shared many past lives. 2 years later, they were newlyweds living in a $6,000 a month beachfront townhouse in Hawaii, and police in 2 states were asking questions. They weren't the only ones.
Oh, maybe in East Idaho News. Can you tell me where your kids are? Where are your kids? No comment? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say? You're over here in Hawaii? Where are your children? Now, why don't you just give us a comment? Just tell us where they are. Chad, where are Lori's kids? What happened to Tammy, Chad?
Weeks later, Lori would be arrested on charges of child abandonment, but the bodies of JJ and Tylee, burned, bagged, and dismembered, wouldn't be found for 4 months in shallow graves in Daybell's backyard in Idaho. Daybell was arrested, and eventually the couple was each charged with murdering the children and Daybell's former wife, Tammy. By then, Lori was eager to profess her innocence, not to reporters, but to her former best friend who recorded the call.
I promise you that I have done nothing wrong in this case, but sometimes you have to hide in a cavity of a rock for your own life safety. And that's what the Lord requires of you sometimes. And that's how it is. And I'm sorry that's how it is, because there is a lot of darkness on the earth.
Lori kept that darkness at bay for most of her life, certainly when she was parading across the stage at a Mrs. Texas pageant in the early 2000s, and certainly when she appeared on Wheel of Fortune, winning thousands with her quick mind and steely nerves.
Gopher, Doc, Isaac, and Captain Stewie.
Yeah! Since her arrest, Lori Daybell's mental capacity has been the subject of hearings, rulings, and months of inpatient treatment. Now she's finally poised to stand trial and could face the death penalty if convicted. What a wild case. I forgot about all the twists and turns with this one. The Wheel of Fortune connection. Didn't remember that. Okay, I want to bring in Dan Eckhart. He is a criminal defense attorney and a former federal agent and prosecutor. Dan, what do you make, because this is really the latest big development, that the judge decided to deny the motion to dismiss? I mean, when I first read about it, it seemed like a stretch to me that they were actually going to throw this whole thing out. But did it surprise you? Do you hear me, Dan? Dan, hear me? Dan, you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
I don't think Dan can hear me.
I can't hear Brian.
You got me now, Dan? Okay, we don't have Dan, but what I was asking about was essentially the defense in this case was asking for the entire trial to be thrown out because they didn't do the timely trial in time, and it was just wild. Hopefully, we'll get Dan back. We can ask him about that because that's the whole reason that this whole thing is moving forward now. And again, I'm glad we had that refresher that they put together today. Good job with the producers with that, because this is going to be wild come April. I mean, if you haven't followed this case in the past, it's going to be a wild ride, and this is all going to start in April. Okay, hopefully we'll get Dan back. If not, we'll talk to him soon. We'll be right back after this.
Bye-bye cough.
Later chest congestion. Hello, 12 hours of relief.
12 hours? Not coughing? Hashtag still not. Fox.
Welcome back. A letter that Brian Laundrie received from his mother has now become a battle in court involving a lawsuit filed by Gabby Petito's parents against the Laundrie family and their lawyer. The Petitos, they want it released. The Laundries, they don't. The letter allegedly includes a shocking offer from Roberta Laundrie to lend her son a shovel and mentions burying a body. That's according to Pat Riley, an attorney for the Petitos. Riley says it was discovered in a backpack next to Laundrie's bodies, separate from the notebook confession that was the confession to Petito's murder. Riley says the letter had damning language, alluding to his mother helping him, quote, get out of prison and some other things. The envelope containing the letter allegedly read, burn after reading. Riley described the letter to us in an interview last June. He says the Laundries still have the letter. Take a look at this.
So a letter from Roberta to Brian to assist her son, assist him to do what?
Let me back up and say there's no date on the letter.
but it would appear that the letter was written between the time that Gabby was murdered and Brian committed suicide. There's scenarios presented by Roberta in that letter. For example, if you go to jail, I'll bake a cake and I'll put a knife in it or a saw in it. There was also something referenced in that letter about Gabby, and I'd rather not go any further. At this point, the letter will speak for itself, and I don't want to paraphrase incorrectly what the letter said.
Okay, the Laundries maintain that the letter was written long before the murder. Their defense attorney, Steve Bertolino, says it is irrelevant to the lawsuit and that they should not have to hand it over. That interview that you saw there, that was from last year, and now even more information about the letters come out in court. And if the letter is released, what it does mean to the civil suit and what it could lead to criminal charges. Is it possible? Is any of that possible? Joining me now to unpack it all, Dave Ehrenberg, state prosecutor in Palm Beach County. Dave, my longtime friend. I don't know why I just called you Dan. I've known you for probably 10 years now, but thanks for joining us tonight, Dan. Dave, man, we haven't seen the letter, Dave. It's been a night. We haven't seen the letter, Dave. Do you think it's going to come out in court? I mean, obviously, the Laundries are going to fight it, but do you think we'll actually end up seeing it come out?
Yeah, it's good to be with you tonight, Bill. Brian.
Yeah.
So I did that on purpose. So here's the deal. I don't see how it can't come out, right? I don't see how it can't come out. It's clearly relevant. I mean, this is a civil lawsuit based on a theory of intentional infliction of emotional distress, that the family of Brian Laundrie knew that their son killed Gabby and withheld information from Gabby's parents to the point of even ghosting them on Facebook, to the point of putting out a press release saying, we hope the search for Miss Petito is successful. And this is very relevant to that, because this would show that, yeah, she knew that Brian had killed Gabby and that she was sort of coaching him perhaps on disposing the body. So yeah, it's definitely relevant. And if the Laundrie family wants to say, well, this had nothing to do with the actual murder, this was written months or weeks before, well, then let a judge and a jury sort it out. But to suppress that letter as irrelevant, I don't see how they can do that.
Yeah, and it's our understanding, Dave, that there's no date on the letter. So how exactly could they really prove when it was written? I mean, couldn't the Laundries just say, no, this has nothing to do with anything? I mean, how would they prove it in the end if there's no date?
Well, that's what the hearing would be for. A judge would have to question the parties, would review it, and you look at all the different things to see, for example, Gabby's name is in the letter. The fact that the letter was in Brian's possession when he died, that's sort of peculiar that he would hold on to a letter that was written months before that had nothing to do with this matter. I think that the evidence that we know, there's circumstantial evidence, would point to the fact that it is related to the murder. But if it's not, it's for a judge to decide. And if it's a questionable matter, then it should go to a jury and let the jury figure it out. But just to suppress it, to not allow it in as irrelevant, I don't think, unless you have something that we don't know, I don't think that's possible.
Yeah, and I was thinking the same thing that you just said. I mean, if it is an old letter, it's certainly interesting that he had it in the backpack when he went out to the marsh to commit suicide. Do you think that this single piece of evidence, I mean, it keeps coming up in court. Clearly, the Petito's attorney thinks it's very important. But do you think it's enough to show that that there was this pain and suffering, and that the Laundries actually knew that Gabby Petito was dead all along?
I don't think this is enough. I think this is a piece of the puzzle. I think when you combine that with the ghosting on Facebook, I mean, who does that, right? Your son's fiance is missing. This is a girl who lived with the Brian Laundrie parents in their home for a year. And when she's missing, you ghost her parents, and then you put out a press release that is so cold that doesn't refer to Gabby as Gabby. The press release said, we hope the search for Miss Petito is successful. That is cold-blooded. And when you combine all of that with this new bit of evidence, I think that makes for a compelling case for the plaintiffs. And at the very least, I think it is evidence that a jury should see.
Yeah, I've struggled with that since the beginning. That's one of the things that's never made sense to me in terms of, like you said, the Laundries ignoring the Petitos throughout that process. That's certainly going to be part of this civil trial. One thing that a lot of people ask me, because they get more and more mad when new evidence comes out, like this letter, they get more and more upset with the Laundries. And you're the perfect person to ask this since you're a prosecutor. Do you think criminal charges could still be possible, or are they off the table? And remember, according to the Petito attorney, the FBI already had this letter, so they clearly know about it. But do you think we may ever see criminal charges with the parents?
I don't think so, Brian. I think the justice that Gabby's parents will get will have to come in civil court through this lawsuit. But as far as criminal charges, you need more than a letter. You would have to show that Brian's parents tried to help him escape, did something to perhaps sanitize the van, tried to hide evidence, tried to destroy evidence. Then you can charge them with tampering with evidence, or you can charge them with accessory after the fact. But to charge them with accessory after the fact, they, number one, would have to know that Brian killed Gabby, and number two, they'd have to actively do something to help cover it up. Just writing a letter like this, to me, is not enough.
Interesting. Yeah, we've got the lawsuit now happening in Florida near where you are, and then there's this other lawsuit happening in Moab, Utah, against the police department there for the way that they handled the stop involving Brian and Gabby. So we'll see how it all plays out. Dave Ehrenberg, I know your name, my longtime buddy. Thanks for coming on tonight. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brian and Tim.
Thanks, Vin. All right, still to come tonight, residents of East Palestine, Ohio have been allowed back into their home for a week now following the derailment of a train carrying toxic chemicals. But is it really safe? The residents there, they are upset, and rightly so. We are digging into what these trains transport and why the public isn't always told about the dangerous chemicals on the trains. We're going to talk about it right after this.
As an actor, it's my job to make people.
All right, it has been nearly 2 weeks since the Norfolk Southern train carrying hazardous materials derailed in Ohio. The evacuation order has now been lifted for a week, but some, rightfully so, are not comfortable going home, and you really just cannot blame them. Complaints of headaches and nausea. At least 3,500 fish have been killed, and reports of other animals dying really have a community up in arms tonight.
The people want answers. I want answers. We're going to put everybody up here. No, Norfolk Southern didn't show up. They didn't feel it was safe.
Look at that. I mean, so that was all the people tonight in the gymnasium just wanting answers, and no one from the railroad would even show up because of safety concerns. Crazy. In this instance, we know a February 10th letter from the EPA to Norfolk Southern said that a number of highly toxic and dangerous chemicals were on the train. So how common is this? Well, according to the Association of American Railroads, freight trains moved 2.2 million carloads of chemicals in 2021. This is in part because railroads are considered the safest mode of transportation to move these kinds of materials. So is that true, or is there more to it? Apparently there's more to it, because look at this. Look what happened here. Joining me now, David Masur. He is the executive director of Penn Environment and Penn Environment Research and Policy Center. David, thanks for being with me. I mean, you're the expert on this. Just as like a normal guy watching all of this unfold, hearing that these dangerous chemicals were moved right through this community. I mean, you've seen the video. The houses were so close to the train tracks. And then to find out there was this issue with the train, I mean, it's just infuriating.
Absolutely. And, you know, the sad reality is that in the U.S., we have on average 1,700 train derailments every year. Some of them end up to be these near catastrophic explosions or accidents. And every day, unbeknownst to most Americans, trains are rumbling through their neighborhoods and communities carrying these very volatile, explosive, and dangerous substances. So this is a real risk, not just to the residents of East Palestine, Ohio, as we've seen, but to communities all over the nation, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's interesting. The governor of Ohio at a press conference said that the train was not categorized as high hazard. And you look at this graph here, if you go online, again, just as a normal citizen trying to find what chemicals are transported by railroads, it's hard to come by. The chart says there's a whole other category of other for 19%. It just seems like if these trains are going to be moving through our communities, shouldn't it be easier to find out what they're transporting? And shouldn't the states be made aware if there's dangerous chemicals on the trains?
Absolutely. And there are a number of reasons why this occurs that are problematic. Number one is that if trains are carrying other cargo that is not dangerous, then they don't have to classify as hazardous. So in this case, the train was also carrying wheat, plastic pellets, lube oil, which certainly when you have a fire like this are not safe, but aren't considered hazardous at the core. And so that allowed a train like this to not have to categorize itself or report as carrying hazardous substance, even though it was carrying a significant amount of varying toxic and explosive substances, which is one big problem. And then the second you mentioned is we have no requirements or rules, no regulations at the federal level or the state level that require these freight companies to report what they are transporting to our communities. And that's a huge problem. It's not just a huge problem.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you got to feel for the people who live there. You've now got the federal government and the state government telling them essentially that everything is okay, that the tests are coming back clean. Just in 30 seconds, when we have 30 seconds left, I mean, what do you say to the people who live there? Should they trust that the water and air is clean? Or, I mean, we've seen the government mess this up big time before.
Sure, I think they should be very concerned, in all honesty. We know that people are having health effects and symptoms that correlate with the chemicals released and burned. We've seen environmental harm, species and animal wildlife that have died. And certainly there's distrust because the agencies that are supposed to protect us probably sent those residents back to East Palestine too early before it was safe.
Yeah, and I spoke to a couple of residents today who said they're going to start doing their own testing, bring companies in on their own. It's a mess there. David, thank you so much for coming on. We'll have you back as this story develops because we'll be staying on it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, still to come tonight, a big development in the case of my News Nation colleague who was arrested last week in Ohio, really just for doing his job. We'll talk.
April, and I'm a caregiver. I've been with Nell now for 2.5 years, and I just feel like I am making a difference in her life. I know how much her family relies on me being there. It's about the bond that we form.
At care.com, you can find the senior care help your family needs. Search from lots of local caregivers with profiles, reviews, and more. It costs less than you think.
At 98 years old, she's enjoying her life.
Find care for all you love. Care.com.
So Frank, you're the big.
Covers 99% of people in America. So when we say we have your town covered, we mean it.
Where I live is a rural area, and the coverage has been awesome.
And
I can
great
use the
coverage.
commercial. All right, I can do that. I am in Nashville. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I try to be. I just like to give y'all this information like I would like it, which is quick and to the point. I don't remember. I didn't watch the Memorial Crystal, so I don't remember. Yeah, we'll be talking about the train chemical accident after this for sure, 100%. I'm interested in giving y'all my thoughts. Back on.
Today, the criminal charges against News Nation correspondent Evan Lambert were officially dropped. Lambert was arrested last week, moments after a live report at a press conference about the Ohio train derailment. After being accused of being loud while the governor was speaking, a National Guardsman pushed Evan, and law enforcement tackled him to the ground and charged him with criminal trespassing and also disorderly conduct. Since then, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine has called the arrest wrong, and the Pentagon even condemned it. Ohio's Attorney General Dave Yost made an announcement today saying, quote, "My office has reviewed the relevant video and documentary evidence and is dismissing the charges against Evan Lambert as unsupported by sufficient evidence." He goes on to say, "The reporter was lawfully present at a press conference called by the governor of the state. His conduct was consistent with the purpose of the event and his role as a reporter." Lambert reacted to the news on Dan Abrams' show tonight on News Nation.
I assume big relief that the charges were dropped?
Yeah, I think that's an accurate word, right? That's what I'm feeling, and I feel like this is one step in moving forward in all of this.
Do you plan to file a civil lawsuit?
I think accountability is important, and one step in that is having these charges dismissed. Of course, I didn't want to sit here being a charged, suspected criminal for doing my job, but I think there should be further accountability, and I don't know what's going to happen next. I think it's early.
Okay, so what will happen next? We will obviously be watching it all very, very closely. Will something happen with that National Guardsman? Will something happen with those police officers? Will there be an investigation? We'll be watching. Chris Cuomo is coming up next. Have a good night.
Alexa, turn on Peter. Hello, everyone. We've got 94 on the YouTube side and got down to 300 on the other. That's a lot of people. All right. So there was some good stuff tonight. I like Brian Inton needs his own show, y'all. I think so, at least. All right. Let me see, because I can read what you guys said, but I wasn't able to see what YouTube was saying. So let me check what they were doing real quick over here. And okay, so y'all, a lot of y'all want to talk about the a lot of stuff in here. Okay. Yeah, tonight's variety was good. I don't even know where we should start. Where should we start? We can talk about, I mean, I got some stuff that was not on Banfield that's worth, I think, chatting about. But we can also talk about the train derailments. We can talk about Gabby Petito. We can talk about Koberger. Oh, you're welcome, Christina. And for those of y'all wondering why I'm looking over here, I'm on YouTube as well. If you have a question and you definitely want it to get seen, you can jump over to YouTube, follow there if you want, but it's easier to see. And apparently it looks better. If there's, it looks over better here when you're watching. So, all right. Anyways. All right. Somebody said train derailment. Rock, paper, scissors, right? They're not lying about trains. That is a dumb comment. It is a dumb comment to say they're lying about the trains. No new UFOs today. Okay, I'm going to make a list because you guys know you're going to distract me. So let's see what we're going to put on this list. Okay. Oh, I need that. Okay, so we're going to talk about trains. We're going to talk about. It is currently 10 p.m. We're talking about trains. We're going to talk about, somebody asked about Nicola Bully. So we'll talk about Nicola Bully. We're going to talk about Petito and the letter. We'll talk about Koberger, of course. We're talk about Murdoch. What else y'all want? Chemicals, HEP Idaho. Okay, I'm going to talk to you guys about Adriana Kush. Okay, we can talk about El Paso again. What else? All right. See what YouTube wants to. Toddlers and suckers. Okay. Yeah, we can talk about that. I'll be talking about El Paso. It is a dumb comment because they're not lying about trains. Trains crash. If you're talking about they're lying about like the damage a little bit, then maybe. There's nothing really to talk about, Brian Walsh. There's no updates there. Like if you're talking about how they're not telling people how bad it really is, then maybe if that's what you meant, but I have a feeling that's not what you meant. I assume that when most people say things like this, especially and I could be wrong, so if I am wrong, I apologize to you for this. If I'm wrong, a lot of people come in here with their conspiracy theories, and yeah. So if you meant the environmental damage, then yes, I totally agree with you. If you meant like the trains crashing and derailing at all, then that. So I'm given what I'm used to dealing with people who come in and say stuff. I initially thought the other one, but if you meant the EPA damage, then my apologies. All right. Let's start with the trains because we're talking about it already, right? Okay. We're going to come back to Koberger all in good time. Okay. I think, and actually the Washington Post did a really good TikTok today about the trains. So basically it's been like 11 days. There's like 3,500 fish died in the waterways, but they're still not supposed to drink the water. And let's see what else. Oh, the Biden offered federal government support, and the governor of this is something you might not have known. The governor of Ohio turned down federal support from Biden and said, "No, we got this." So that I think is a dumb. Am I the only one to think that is a stupid move to turn down federal assistance and funds? You can't bathe in the water. They said not to plant anything in the water. Lars. Like, I just don't really understand, because here's the thing. Like, I'm not saying Ohio is, I don't know what the political, let me look. I don't know what the political affiliation of Ohio's governor is. Let me look. Governor. Somebody's going to be able to say before I know. Mike DeWine, he is a Republican. Ohio is a swing state. You never know. Yeah, Ohio's a 100% swing state. It goes both ways. That's what she said. I don't know why he turned the offer down. He just said, no, he's a Republican. His name is, and this is not me getting into politics. This is just me answering a question. His name is Mike DeWine, and he is a Republican. He's also very old. So anyways, so what part of Ohio was it? You know what, for those, I can maybe, hold on. I can maybe do something. Ohio. I can maybe, on YouTube, I can actually pull this up. So it's in East Palestine, but I can show you guys where. I can't show you guys, but I can show YouTube people. Like, yeah. Palestine, maps. Okay, we're going to show you guys where everything is over here. Okay. It's on the border of PA. So I'm going to show you all where this is. I can't, if y'all want to jump over to YouTube and see the map and a couple other things I'll pull up, y'all can do that. That's funny, Haley. No, I know nothing about your governor, so I have no idea. But anyways, I will show y'all this. Okay. Here we go. So for those of y'all who don't know, here we go. I don't need to see the traffic in the areas, but here is the area where it happened. Okay. Like this is East Palestine. And we're going to scroll out a little bit and you can see, I mean, it is like literally on the Pennsylvania line. Like it is far, far eastern Ohio. To give you guys an idea of the whole state. Hopefully y'all can see that. Those of y'all who want to, but it's right. Well, where'd it go? I think I went into, I think I'm not too far. There it is, right here. But anyways, that's where it's located. That's where the train spill happened. I mean to do that. There we go. So let's talk about a little bit more. Let's show y'all some stuff that's going on there. I'm going to show you guys some of what's going on there. So here, this is a good, BBC's got a good picture. I can show you all this. I think they just had a, all right, yeah, we can go through a few things here. So I want to make sure I like this before I throw this up on the screen. Okay, I'm going to throw this up on the screen. What do I think about all the train derailments recently? I think it's weird. I have here's the thing, though. I don't think there's anything like nefarious going on about the train derailments. I think that you could have, I'll show this out here. I'll throw this out to you. I think that what you could have is a lot of infrastructure that is outdated and not having money put into it. I never hear about the trains really getting anything. So, anyways, this is kind of what you're looking at here. This is on the BBC. This shows you some of the cars. We'll find some more stuff. And then you come down here. I'll show you this picture. So what they're doing here says they estimate that 3,500 fish from 12 different species died in nearby water bodies as a result of the derailment. Yeah, I think the tracks are probably, I think that trains are, very, very, very neat of probably, you got to think it's a lot of train track, even bridges and stuff. I was talking to somebody recently, I forget where it was, and they have like a bridge, a train bridge that they're finally getting a new one. The bridge is 120 years old. So you have a lot of these tracks that were laid 100 years ago. So I think that you have issues, and a lot of them get used a lot. Like when you're talking about coming out, Pittsburgh's been a high industry town, so you're coming in and out of that area. I think that it's, I think that that's part of it. Hey, Dr. Rubin, how are you? We're talking about train derailments right now. So anyways, then so now what they've talked about as far as the train goes too, they've talked about, the chemicals in the air as of now are fine, but they're not talking about the chemicals that have seeped into the ground. Therefore, it is a mess. That's an absolute mess. But they're talking about the chemicals that seeped in the ground. So, they're saying you can't plant anything. You can't, people are getting sick. They're getting headaches. I think that you're almost looking at something that's going to be impossible to do a full cleanup on. You might be looking at something not quite to the disaster level of Chernobyl, but a miniature scaled version like of a Chernobyl type situation. Oh, there's definitely going to be a class action suit. 100%. 100%. They offered them $25,000 to make it good. Well, that's nice of them. That's very nice of them. People that live there posting photos on Facebook, pictures of their rashes, animals, dead fish, plants, film all over the water for outside animals, even after being cleaned. Wow. Yeah. The thing is, I don't think that the railroads have that much money. So it's bad, guys. It's really bad. Did the town refuse the offer? I know that the governor of Ohio refused federal assistance. Let me see if I can find the article on that. Okay, I can find this real quick. Okay, hold on. I'm looking for. I don't want to make y'all hold while I look at this, but yeah, I had saw today through. I believe it was. I'm pretty sure it was Washington Post that they declined. That they declined. He said he would stay there if he drank bottled water. Yeah. Well, I don't know what the attachments were. I haven't seen it, but at this point, I don't really, who cares? if you have citizens that are losing their homes and people that are dying in an incredibly toxic thing, and you can't really deal with it. I don't know what the stipulations were, but I would imagine it couldn't have been anything that incredibly terrible, when you're dealing with that. And you could always negotiate, and that stuff is always negotiable. So I don't know what caused the derail. I'm sure that people are. So the 25,000 that was offered by the rail company, by the way, apparently somebody over on YouTube did the math. Said that equates to about $5 for each person when the population is broken down. You know what? I agree. If it's something like an emergency situation like this, I agree 100% with you. You should not add attachments. I dropped you guys. Sorry. I'm trying to adjust y'all. But I agree. You shouldn't add attachments to a federal situation, to a natural disaster or disaster type situation. Sorry, guys. It's not about the water. It's probably particulate matter in the air, drinking, etc. Yeah, bottled water would not be enough. 100%. I agree. People are, they're complaining about rashes. They're complaining about everything. They said you can't plant. Bad bearing on a wheel that caught fire and it derailed. I did not know that. Thank you for letting us know. So it derailed due to a bad bearing on the wheel. Yeah, I've just thrown a TikTok. Now, that's how I feel about TikTok. If I could, I would actually get off TikTok altogether and just be, whatever, Justin After Dark, as they call it. They probably can't take shares. It's probably where they're getting rashes. And go to YouTube exclusively. But y'all don't want to go over there for whatever reason, even though it's way better over there. No, I don't. If anybody is in that area or knows what's going on in that area close, does anybody know if they can take showers? Too much weight on the train. Yeah. All right. So we talked about the train. I want to know that answer, and then, this is a good statement, Haley. I didn't even think about this. There are maps showing the waterways, and Ohio is a huge source of water for a large part of the eastern side of the country, and even going west to the Mississippi. So could actually be huge for a lot of us. The animals dying outside of that. They were told to, but it's not safe. Gotcha. Okay, so they were told they could take a shower, but it's not safe. And there's a statistic going about how many name brand water bottle companies bottle water from Ohio, like Nestle, Coke, to name a few. Yeah. Well, Coke has bottling plants all over the place, so they could always shift that. Yeah, we're growing a little bit over here. They put a padlock on the water fountain on the live conference. It's insane. I mean, I feel terrible for it. It's a bad situation. All right, so let's go. We talked about the trains. I want to do Nicola Bully, but we'll do that in a minute. Let's talk about the Gabby Petito letter. Let's do that real quick, and then we can go to a couple of. Oh, you know what? Actually, let me even do this before I do this. Dr. Rubin, are you still in here? I want to make sure he hears this part if he's in here still. The Banfield episode, we're going to talk about that in a minute, actually, Hannah. Well, I'm going to get to that in a minute. I know how Dr. Rubin feels about this kind of stuff, so I want to make sure he's here. All right, well, that's going to be one of the next things. All right, I don't think he's in here, but we're going to talk about it anyways. So for those of y'all who don't know, who came in late or haven't heard yet, because it really didn't make too much news, there was another shooting today, this evening, actually just a couple hours ago in El Paso. It was at a mall. Last total I saw, which was before Banfield. Let me look. Okay, as of 12 minutes ago, one person is dead and 3 are hurt at an El Paso shopping mall. So just so y'all are aware of that, that we did have another one. I just want to make sure that numbers hadn't changed. You know how that goes. So it was 1 and 3 last time, but yes. So there was another one. Just to let you guys know who did it. So supposedly they have somebody in custody. So I don't want to subscribe to your news. They haven't released the person. So we have one person in custody. One more person might be involved as well, but has not been detained. No description of outstanding suspect was available. We don't have any active shooters at this time. All we know now is that it was isolated to the Cielo Vista Mall. 3 injured, 1 dead. Question. So, yeah, Dr. Rubin has very strong feelings about the shootings, which is why I was like, I hope he's still in here. So there. That's one thing I wanted to talk about. So for those of y'all who didn't know, there was another shooting. I'll say that it was in El Paso, Texas. I'll also say this. I did a video today, and I think it got fairly suppressed. I do know a little bit, Hannah, about the 5 injured. I will talk about that. I'm actually segueing into that right now. I did a video today because they're starting to release some of the information about the people who died. So photos, their names, kind of what they did. I did that video and it did not do very well. But if you are, it's totally up to you if you want to see it. I mean, obviously, I love the sport, but if you want to see the 3 people who passed away, let's just call it what it is, the 3 people who were murdered, brutally murdered, and unnecessarily murdered at Michigan State, you can go back and look at that video. I don't talk about the person who did it at all. It was about the victims and about who they were. So if you do want to see that, please feel free to go do that. So the question was, do we know anything about the 5 injured from MSU? I haven't seen an update today. The last thing I saw was that 4 out of the 5 needed surgery. So let me see let's check and see if there's any updates. I'm trying to see if I don't see anything new on updates of the injured. Okay, hold on. One of the 5, it looks like one of the 5 people, this is on click on Detroit. Bring this to open. No, campus was closed for 48 hours, so I don't think it's open yet. At least 48 hours. I'd imagine that. Okay, let me look here. So a GoFundMe page. Okay, so anybody interested, and I can link this if y'all want me to. I have to figure out where it is, but a GoFundMe page has been created by a family. Identifies one of the victims who did not die as Guadalupe Huapia Perez. She was a junior studying hospitality. She's also part of the College Assistance Migrant Program camp. Family lived in South Florida. They immediately came up. She's a long way from returning to as she was. Doctors tell us even in improving conditions, the process for a full recovery will take months of care and subsequent rehabilitation. The family set a goal of the GoFundMe at a total of $50,000. Within hours, it far exceeded $260,000. And I think this is going to more than just her. I think it's going to other victims. 4 of the 5 injured students required surgical intervention when they arrived at the hospital on Monday. Officials did not provide a prognosis, saying it's too soon to tell. So that's what we have as far as an update on Michigan. So sad, guys. Sad. So we talked about Michigan. Sorry. Talked about Michigan. And let's go into this as a good segue because somebody asked me to bring this up too. So we're talking about shootings. As you guys know, we have a shooting in El Paso. To give you guys some fun stats on shooting, and I use the fun sarcastically, stats on shootings since okay, so give you a background. We have a cousin of one of the victims in here right now. Who is it? Let me see. Hold on. Hold please, guys. Snuggle Bunny 84. Is what video on YouTube, Cindy? I'm trying to see what happened. I'm not finding the original comment, so if they want to say something again, they can. But I'm so sorry for your loss as well. It's tragic, and it's unnecessary. And what I was starting to say is that it was a junior in high school when Columbine happened, and before Columbine, you never worried about shooting events. You never did. And immediately after Columbine, my high school had 3 bomb threats. Oh, okay. Yeah. That was Ariel was the first person who was on the video that I did. So she was, let me see if I'm trying to remember, she was 19. And if I remember right, she was studying to become a doctor, I think. I can be corrected if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure she was the one who was 19 and studying to be a doctor. We never worried about it, right? You know what? I'm gonna throw. Let me see if I can do this. I wonder if I can throw the pictures up on you guys for YouTube so y'all can see. All right. Allow. I want this. See if I can throw this up for you guys. Okay. I can throw the pictures up on YouTube. So that's what I'm gonna do. Columbine, I look at Columbine as being that pivotal moment that changed everything. We could have handled it differently then. There we go. So y'all can see. Let me close this out. So for those of y'all while we're talking about this, these are the victims, the 3 people who passed away. So on this picture, you have Brian Fraser, who was, I believe he was 20, president of his fraternity. This is Alexandria Werner. She was studying forensics. Doesn't say that here, but didn't. And this is Ari Anderson. She was studying to become a doctor, and these 2 were 20 and she was 19. So anyways, it's when everything kind of changed a little bit. And this is that was on YouTube. Anybody who wants to jump over to YouTube, y'all can. But what somebody asked me to talk about earlier is that this was another TikToker. And I'll say this too before I go there. I am terrified for when it's time for my daughter to go to school. Alyssa and I have had a lot of discussions about that, especially lately. But another TikToker has their child in preschool, right? Like 3-4 year olds, like that age group. And they're starting to do 3 to 4 year olds are starting to do active shooter drills. Okay. 3 to 4 year olds. And what they're doing, because 3 to 4 year olds don't really understand the situation, they have to stay quiet. So they're giving these children, these little kids, lollipops, suckers. Thank you, Snuggle Bunny, for the follow. And again, I'm so sorry for your loss. I really am. It's tragic. And based on what I've read today, all of these kids looked like amazing people, and including Ari. So it's just tragic. My sincerest and deepest condolences to you and your family. But anyways, they're giving these little kids lollipops so they keep them quiet. Yeah, you had the clock tower shooting, but then there was nothing really else. I mean, things happened, but it wasn't really like it was. It didn't skyrocket. Yeah, I know. Homeschooling is the answer. Here's the thing about it. I own firearms, okay? So I'm not like anti-Second Amendment. But, I don't know at this point, like, what else can be done. Like, I really don't. Like, it's since 1999, there have been 366 school shootings. 356. 46 of those have been in 2022 alone, or 2022 alone. I don't know. I need to get an update on that, Scorpion. It's not getting better. It's getting exponentially worse. 2022 was the worst year ever for it. 2022 was the lowest in a long time because nobody was in school. So. Looking at remember being in elementary school learning about Rachel Scott from Columbine. She had her handprint. She drawn handprints on the back of her dresser. Oh, that's so sad. I think I vaguely remember that. Them doing that. I vaguely, maybe. But okay, you have police officers. So that's, I mean, is that really, I mean, but is that the answer? We're the only country that this happens in. The only country. The only country. And here's the thing. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. And people are going to disagree with me. And again, I own firearms. I've owned them for a very, very long time. I very much enjoy shooting them. It's fun. Take them to the range, go shoot. You know, and I have everything from shotguns to handguns. Okay. And things in between. But again, this doesn't happen in other countries. And, you know, I think that basically, you know, what you need is you need a change in the way that it's handled. I don't think that the answer is more cops or arming your teachers. Kids, you know, the sacrifice is children, is what people are doing to people don't lose the right to bear arms, because the right to bear arms is supposed to, I'm just going to go and say this now. The right to bear arms, but yeah, people are, the whole guns aren't the issue. People are the issue. It's bullshit argument. Okay. Yeah. A gun's not going to go pick itself up and shoot somebody, but people are, and guns are designed to do one thing, and that is to kill people. They do not have any other purpose in life but to kill people. Okay. That's their whole purpose. And you can't force parents to be parents. On top of that, a lot of people work because, you know, we're in a country that's not set up to help children, you know, help families succeed in these types of situations. You know, but here's the thing. What I was trying to say, because I don't lose my thought again. Second Amendment. I get why the Second Amendment's there. I don't disagree with the Second Amendment. When our founding fathers put that in, we were fighting with muskets and cannons, okay? Muskets that you would do single load shots, dump the gunpowder in there, and you shot. You're not going to fight the federal government in 2023 with an AR-15. There's already gun control because there's a lot of guns that you can't own at all. From a federal level, you can't own them at all. Okay. But if the U.S. government wants to, they could sit in a room 2,000 miles away, put a target on your house and blow you up without ever even getting in your state or your city or near even your neighborhood. Your ARs aren't going to affect that at all. And then I see the arguments, it's the same arguments we always have. And again, I have guns. I'm not against the Second Amendment. I never have been. But oh, a second. I'm sorry, I said something. People are like, the bad people will still get guns. The bad people in England don't get guns. The bad people in Canada don't get guns. Switzerland, Germany, France, Italy, Greece, etc. The bad people aren't getting guns. This is not an issue. Australia, New Zealand. This is an issue. This is strictly an American issue, and we are the laughing stock of the world with the way we're an embarrassment the way that we handle this. Okay. So it's not, you know, like I said, mine are locked up. They're in a safe. Yeah. In England, they use machetes. Yeah. But you're not going to take it. You can't take out 50 people with a machete. So and here's the thing. You're at a point now too, where okay, the whole idea of let's remove all the guns, that's completely unrealistic now. Okay. There are so many in this country. There's been, you know, we've had guns for, you know, a couple hundred years now. There's tons that are unregistered. There are, you know, different states. Like in my state, Tennessee, you don't have to register your guns, so nobody knows. So to get rid of guns, it's completely unrealistic. Okay, completely unrealistic. But what is realistic is putting in, because I don't care if it's a Second Amendment right. Everybody does not need to own one. Okay, everybody does not need to own one. You know, you have to go through an entire test. You have to wait till you're a certain age and go through a test just to drive a car. You have to get insurance if you buy that car. Okay. Etc. So why can't you have the same thing? Why, you know, I remember when I bought, oh my God, when I bought my revolver, I bought it at a show. I'll tell y'all two stories, actually. I'll tell y'all two stories. Most people aren't going to make bombs. Again, they don't make bombs in other countries either. That's not a thing that really happens. It's an American thing too, Cassie. Not a thing that happens regularly. And homemade bombs aren't exactly overly effective. And not that many people have the capacity to be able to do that. And there's a lot of checks and balances in place to make sure that you can't buy the materials to build one. And if you do, you get flagged. But that's the thing here's the thing though. Here's the argument here that you guys are having. Y'all, people are so gung-ho on keeping guns that they will argue everything to keep it, including children's safety. And that's where I have a problem. Again, you don't see about mass casualty events in other countries. People can keep saying this, and that's going to be my same answer to all of it. You don't see the same issues. But let me tell you my story real quick. So in Georgia at a show, I bought a revolver at a gun show. There was a quick background check. I mean, not very much at all. Like just real quick. There was no waiting period. I took the gun home a day from that. But the one that was really good is when I was in Georgia in college. I had lived in Florida for a little while, so I had a Florida driver's license. So I came up. I had turned 21, so I'm buying my first one, a 9mm. And I go to a pawn shop to buy it. So it's a Ruger for those of y'all who are interested in knowing. And I still have it. And basically, what happened was I went in to buy it. They had a Florida license. Like, we can't sell this to you. So they said, so my buddy was with me, and they asked me, like, what about him? I said, he's got a Georgia. They're like, does he have a Georgia license? And I said, yeah. So the owner of the store was like, he could buy it for you and just sell it to you. And that's what we did. So there were always loopholes. And yes, most firearms in mass shootings are obtained legally. You're 100% right on that. And I don't agree with that. And that's what I'm saying is you have to go through all these checks and balances in order to drive a car. There's a lot of things that you just can't do. Why can't you have same checks and balances? Here's the thing. If you put a 30-day waiting period from the time you get you can put the money down, they hold the gun, 30-day waiting period. They can even send it to you, deliver it to you, whatever the case is, ship it to you. For people who are thinking about taking their own lives or people who are thinking about doing these events, 30 days is a long time to wait for them to want to do it. It might not save all of them, but it would save some. That's my whole point. Well, look at that. Haley is in here. Well, hi, Haley. How are you? I have not seen Haley in a live or on a live in forever. Rob and Haley, by the way, if you guys like true crime, definitely go follow them or her. She's a phenomenal creator, has a podcast. Her true crime stuff is really interesting, very factual. She will not get anything wrong. So definitely give her a follow as well. So that's my whole point. Like, I'm not trying to get into an argument over it. Like I said, I'm not saying take them away. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, maybe some mental health checks put in there would be good. What if I need to protect my family from a new threat? I need to be able to get a gun. Again, other countries don't have this issue. So that's going to be my same answer. Other countries don't have this issue. I've got a freaking thing with probably 12 guns in it right now. Again, so I keep telling you this because I'm not anti-firearm. If it was true of the Second Amendment right, you wouldn't have to pay to license one, just like you don't have to pay to vote. Maybe, but again, I go back to when. So first of all, I believe it was Thomas Jefferson said that the Constitution needed to be rewritten every 19 years. We've been holding on to a document, for what 150 or 200 and what? Well, my brother's born 75, 204, almost 250 years. We were holding on to one document. And again, when we talk about this, we were using muskets. Okay, again, the whole criminals buy guns legally. All of these are ridiculous arguments because it doesn't happen in other countries. There are criminals in other countries too. They don't have them. They do things with knives. Doesn't matter. How is the crime rate in those countries? I don't know. Let's look at that. Let's look it up. I wonder what the crime rate is in the countries. Let's look it up. We'll do it together. All right. Okay, let's look. Try to find like that's it's hard because it's not comparing exactly. Okay. I'm Googling. Oh, here we go. Maybe this will be it. None of these are phenomenal. None of these sites are phenomenal. I might have to do a little bit more. On. One, two, three, four. Okay. Okay, for the top 15. Okay, cities with the highest homicide rates in the world. The top 10 of them are all Latin America: Honduras, Mexico, Venezuela, Honduras, Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Venezuela, Brazil. The next 5, so numbers 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 in the world: New Orleans, Detroit, St. Louis, Baltimore, and Oakland. Firearms are used in most of the violent crimes. Again, that criminals get guns illegally is a dumb argument because other countries don't have this issue. It's a dumb argument. It's the same argument everybody always puts up. Same argument everybody puts up. It's a dumb argument. Again, I own guns. Love them. They're fun. I enjoy it. Okay, here we go. We are, as far as gun violence goes, you guys want to see, I can throw this up for you guys. If you guys want to see this, let me throw this up for y'all. I can throw this up on YouTube. I can't throw it up to you guys. Okay, here is the publication date, May 31st of 2022. This is gun violence. We are an outlier. Among 64 high-income countries and territories, the U.S. stands out for its high levels of gun violence. The U.S. ranks 8th out of 64 for homicides by firearm, age-adjusted. Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, 2 U.S. territories, rank 1st and 3rd on that list. Firearm injuries tend to be more frequent in places where people have easy access to firearms. So in this list that I'm showing you, rate of firearm homicides per 100,000, we are the highest on that list as deaths per 100,000. Again, I own guns. So I'm not sitting here to say it's a, Second Amendment issue, but I'm saying that there's an issue, and how many more children need to die to sacrifice? I don't know how far tasers travel. That's out of my, I have a gun, so I don't use tasers. So anyway, so this is what the race looks like. And I'm not saying to take away all of them. I'm not saying that because at this point that's impossible. All I'm saying is going forward. What's it saying? Yeah, borders are not the only places. It's the country as a whole. And here, this is a fun graph. Look at this, guys. This shows you from years. This is the percentage of childhood deaths from guns. Right here, you see how much we're number 1 on that list. Number 1 on that list. Oh, and here it is by cities. District of Columbia is number 1 on that list, which is not a border state. Louisiana, number 2, not a border state. Mississippi, Alabama, Maryland, Missouri, South Carolina, Illinois, Georgia, Arkansas, Tennessee. Texas is way down here on the list. So the time you get to a border state, you're pretty far down here. So yeah, it's not the border states that are the problem for that argument that I saw happening. California is even lower. Nevada and Arizona are lower than Texas and New Mexico. There's a good little site here. New Hampshire's the lowest for anybody who wants to know. Percentage charges. Having fun with this? So no, they don't come from there. No, they don't. They don't come from the borders. It is not the majority of school shooters. Majority, not all, but the majority are white people who already live here. The person at and they don't come from the border. That's it's the person who did Michigan the other day. He was from Michigan. He's a black dude from Michigan. He's not coming from the border. It's not a border issue. People make the border thing a lot bigger than it is. Let me tell you something about the cartels. The cartels stay near the borders and do things like that. That is what they do. Okay, cartels typically don't want to come into the U.S. because you have the DEA and FBI looking at them. They don't want to cross the border because if they get caught and if they're watched, they go to jail. They usually have other things happen. Now, will they stand at the border and have violent crime going in and out where they're bringing drugs in and out? Absolutely. They used to throw. I lived in Texas at one point. They used to throw human heads over the fence at one point. They used to come in with babies who were, trigger warning, babies who were murdered, gutted, and stuffed with cocaine and heroin. That used to happen too, I think in California at the border. I have not covered the Tyler Doyle case because I think there's a lot of conspiracies around it. Number one, I personally don't think that it's anything more than somebody who fell overboard and probably drowned, which is very, very sad. But I don't think that there's really a case there. I think it was just an accidental situation, and I think it's very sad. America gives Mexico guns and Mexico gives America drugs. We do love our drugs. Yeah, nobody wants to take. Yeah, Deb said it right. Why can't people understand that common sense gun regulations does not mean taking all guns away from everybody? Yes, can you explain why you say that guns are meant for killing people, but people should use them for fun? I never said that people should use them for fun. You said that, Judy. I never said that. I take them to the range and shoot with them, and I take them. There are also, you can use guns for sport. People hunt, people shoot trap, they shoot skeet. There's shooting competitions. There's all sorts of things that aren't just for killing, but they were made for one single purpose, and that was the purpose they were made for. Okay, y'all are turning into a border issue thing that's been an issue for everybody. It's not Biden. The border issue was not Biden. It wasn't Trump. It wasn't Obama. It wasn't Bush. It wasn't Clinton. I'm trying to go back here, guys. It wasn't the other Bush. It wasn't Reagan. It wasn't Carter. It wasn't Nixon. It wasn't. Stop trying to put border issues on a single president, because it's been an issue for all of the presidents for a long time. Going back a very long time. I mean, hell, Reagan started the war on drugs. Let's go back to that. Ronald Reagan started DARE. Ronald Reagan started the war on drugs because it was such a problem coming in. Let's talk about Gabby Petito. I'm tired of this. I think we go around in a circle. Let's talk about Gabby Petito. Good call. Anyways, toddlers are having to do active shooting drills. So there you go. Toddlers. 3 and 4-year-olds. You cannot guns can be compared to prescription drugs. They're fine when they use. It's a false equivalency, Melissa. It's a false equivalency. Yes, Reagan did also defund mental hospitals, which did not help. I only learned that recently too. I hate that I learned that recently. We do love our drugs. We love our opioids, guys. We love our opioids. Love them. All right, let's talk about Gabby Petito. So I haven't done a video on this particular situation because I did a video a while ago with the letter. Well, hold on. Actually, before I go to it, because Christina said something I want to address. Guns turn into politics, and that makes it a hard subject. Something needs to be done. I agree 100%. I agree too. Everything becomes very political. Whereas I think that, both sides agree we don't want children to keep dying unnecessarily. I think we all agree with that. I think that what the issue is finding a common ground. And what I've kind of discovered, and I've told the story before, we have friends who have since moved away because of their job, but we had friends that differed very much politically on. Now, here's the thing. I get the point. Is there a point that there's a place for everyone if these prescription drugs and gun possession? I don't think it was a good comparison because here's the thing. If I don't take insulin, I can't take insulin. If I take insulin incorrectly, I'm going to die. So use it correctly, I guess, yeah, it's fine. But insulin's needed. A gun is not necessarily needed. That's my point. I think it's a false equivalency. Anyways, but that's the issue is that things keep turning into politics. If you sit down and you talk to somebody who's on the opposite end of the spectrum and you keep an open mind, you might be surprised at what you find out. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, Gabby Petito. I want to talk about Gabby Petito. Wow, really, Kimberly? That's an interesting statistic. I want to look into that. I know. I believe you. I just want to look into that and learn a little bit more about that. Apparently, just saw the heads of the Border Patrol being interviewed, and they said it's 85% of Americans who are bringing drugs in over the border. 85% is Americans. Okay, so something happened tonight that they talked about on News Nation in regard to Gabby Petito. I'm getting off the guns, drugs topic, Reagan's war on drugs, and how far back it goes. We're not about Gabby Petito. I'm done talking about guns. I just don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want kids to die. I didn't do a video on the letter this time because I felt like I did a video on this when we first discovered it, that we knew that he offered Lynn Bryant a shovel. We knew that they are not trafficked Americans. A lot of Americans. Okay, they are definitely not trafficked Americans. Okay, I'm going to pause. Hold on. I have to address this. I have a family member who recently died. That at his family's height, they were worth over. This is a close family, fairly close family member too. My dad. Are they all dead? Okay, they're all dead. So my father's sister, my aunt, her son, my cousin, first cousin, much older than me. My dad was a change of life baby. His siblings are significantly older than he is. Started selling weed in college in the 60s. Then in the 70s turned to cocaine. Then he started to fly back and forth to Colombia, and he got out of Colombia once you started getting like big sentences when it comes to, actually, I saw Good Trouble just came in here. I should get him to come on and talk to you guys about guns. I'm sure he would make everyone feel dumb. He just has a way. That I'm very impressed with. But anyways, they were worth $100 million at the time, at their height. I think when my aunt died, they were worth something in the neighborhood of $15-20 million, something in that range is all I'm saying. And they were not trafficked Americans. He was very willingly going over there and got out before he got arrested. He offered my dad back in like my dad was a pilot. He offered my dad like $25,000 a flight back in like the mid 70s to fly back and forth to Colombia. My dad did not take it, but that was a lot of money back then. So my point is they are not trafficked Americans. They're people who see an opportunity to make a lot of money really quick. That's the point. All right. So Gabby Petito. That's why my dad, by the way, wouldn't go to her funeral because they didn't leave him any money. They were worth like 9 digits and they didn't leave him anything. Even though he didn't necessarily, whatever, that's a different discussion. But he didn't go to his own sister's funeral because of that. So anyways, I did do a video on the Gabby Petito letter simply for the fact that that we had talked about this. We knew about the burn after reading. They found it when the FBI handed stuff over to the Petito Schmidt's attorney. So I did a video about it then. We knew that they lent a shovel. We knew about the getting out of prison. We knew about all this stuff, trying to get out of the country, etc. I said, I enjoy shooting them. They're fun. I did say that. I also said they have no other purpose in life to kill people. You know what? Here's another example. Opioids have one purpose too. Doesn't mean people don't use them for fun. Fentanyl has one purpose. Doesn't mean people use it for fun. You can't be so literal. Guns were designed with one purpose in mind. That's what they were designed for. To point and kill things. That is what they were designed for. If people found other uses for them, then that's a different thing. People found ways to shoot trap, shoot skeet, shoot, make a sport out of it. I think there's even an Olympic competition for shooting, if I'm not mistaken. I did make an RX comparison. I'm just saying, because y'all got me having the RX comparison. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm going to Gabby Petito. I'm not looking at any of y'all's gun or drug comments anymore. I'm going to turn off my comments so I can't see them. Anyways, so we did the whole situation where we knew about this letter. I did find it very strange at the time because I think if I remember right, don't hold me to this. I'm not even looking at y'all right now because I don't want y'all to distract me. But if I remember right, the FBI, I think, was kind of surprised. I think both Bertolino and, oh my God, what the hell is the Petito's lawyer's name? I have to Google it. Attorney. What's his name? I did look. You hush, Katie. Patrick Riley. There we go. Patrick Riley. So Patrick Riley and Steve Bertolino, they both kind of I guess, looked at each other completely surprised that this letter existed that nobody kind of saw it before. Thank you for that. Well, Alyssa's texting me. Alyssa, I don't want to talk about guns anymore. What'd you say? My wife is literally texting me. What did she say? She's no, I'm not going to even go there. Okay. Anyways, so they all were surprised. Roberta's saying, okay. And here's the thing. I don't know, for those of y'all who didn't see Banfield tonight, I can kind of tell you what happened. They were talking about the letter, and Bertolino was saying this letter was written long before her death. The Petito Schmidt family is saying this proves that they knew something about the death they're believing. Patrick Riley is believing that I have so much to say on this subject, is saying that they believe that it was written after Gabby was murdered. And that gives indication that they knew that Gabby was murdered. They cannot destroy the letter. The FBI had a copy of it. That's a great question, Cassie. FBI had a copy of it. So it is not destroyed. Even if they destroyed and at this point too, if they destroyed that as evidence, not only is there a backup, they would get in trouble for destroying that evidence because it is fairly crucial, but there is a copy of it. There are copies of it because the FBI had it and backed it up. Although the Laundrie family is likely the ones who have the original at this point. So it said burn after reading. They're saying that this was written well before, but it mentions Gabby. I think it mentions Gabby by name in it, I think, which would indicate, well, if it doesn't, though, it either indicates that he was trying to take somebody else's life or he was planning this well in advance. To me, that would show. Oh, hold on, I'm going to stop this. Carla, Alyssa, are you still in here? I'm going to stop this for a minute because this is important because I've been through this. I saw your RSV post. I'm currently holding my 3-week-old and take RSV very seriously. Does your 3-week-old have RSV right now? If so, I'm so sorry. I know that that's very, very difficult. Is that what you're saying? And that's hard. If that's the case, also do what you can to try to monitor the way that they're breathing and oxygen levels. If you have a way to do that, we had a hospital grade pulse ox, so we could put it on Victoria and watch her sats drop. But if you get anything below 90, you need to take them to the hospital. If you can do that, I'm sure there's things out there. So just be very, very careful. You can watch labored breathing in the chest. Just be very careful because 3 weeks is so young, and I know RSV is just brutal on them. So I did want to stop and say that. It's very scary. It's very scary. Victoria was hospitalized. Victoria was taken by ambulance to the hospital with it. So anyway, so I wanted to address that. But Gerbolino. Anyways, yeah, it would show Cassie, law enforcement has, I believe. Yeah, but I believe the FBI might still have, but I think they turned over a lot of the documents back over. So it would show to me the premeditation. Either way, it's a messed up letter to write, right? Whether it was after she died or before, it either shows premeditation or that they knew. All the time is 87. Interesting. Like even without RSV. That might if that's what they run at. I mean, you might want to talk to the doctor, but I know. I understand. Our Victoria was born in 2019 as a 29-week preemie, so I get it. What was the context of the letter? We've not seen the full letter. What we know about the letter is, May is exactly right. I'm going to come back to what you said too. If Alyssa's in here, she could tell you it happened when she was, I don't remember. I'm kind of all over the place. Like 6 months old, I think. But remember, she was a preemie too, so she was still itty bitty. Maybe she was less older than that. I don't remember. Alyssa would know. Okay, I'm gonna stop looking at y'all so I can finish this thought without my AD kicking in. So again, the context of the letter. We haven't seen the full letter. But here's the things that we know that are in that letter. We know that in that letter it said burn after reading. We know that in it she offers to lend Brian a shovel, bake him a cake with a file or something to help get him out of jail, get him out of the country. Those are the things that we have been told are in the letter. I say we know, but we've been told that are in that letter. And I believe that. The thing about it is that plays into the fact that if they knew ahead of time, if it's premeditated, that's one thing. But if it was written afterwards, which is what the family attorney seems to believe, despite what Bertolino says, Bertolino though talks out of his ass constantly, and is also being sued in this lawsuit. Bertolino believes that was really weird. Not Bertolino, Patrick Riley believes it was written after Gabby was dead, which would indicate that they already knew, which makes their statements unusually harsh and callous, which is what part of that civil suit is. And as May over here said, a big clue, there's a few big clues on this. A big clue is also blocking the Petito family on social media. Okay, so as I said, Gabby lived with them for over a year. They referred to her in a letter as Miss Petito. They blocked all the parents on social media. They shut off all their phones. When the police showed up to question, they already had Bertolino on retainer and handed them the card for the lawyer, and then just shut up. To me, it screams guilt. Now, as Judy just said, it's really bizarre that Roberta's not being charged with anything. Brian Inton, who is covering for Banfield tonight, I'm not looking at y'all because I don't want to get distracted. I will look in a second. Brian Inton was covering for Banfield, but had an attorney on there that said that he did not believe that they were going to get charged with anything, and that Gabby's family is going to get their justice through a civil court measure. Yeah, exactly, Cassie. If it wasn't relative, why? See, YouTube doesn't distract me as much because there's a lot less of y'all over here. Yeah, why would he have it if it wasn't relevant? Why would the FBI have those documents? So the thing is, the FBI had those documents the full time. So you just. Like, I don't want to start a conspiracy theory. I really don't. I'm just going to think out loud. And I'm just going to say this. Please do not take this as anything more than me being ridiculous. Okay. I just want that said here. Okay. That I'm just maybe I'm being ridiculous, but part of me still really questions how this case got tied up in such a neat little bow. I love that idea, Judy. I don't know if people would support that banner. Do y'all want to fly another banner over the laundry's house that says "We're baking a cake for you, burn after reading"? We can't do that. But anyways, it was all tied up in just a very neat, nice little bow. They searched that Carlton Reserve forever, and which thing do you want me to stand on, Melissa? Gabby Petito. Everybody's like, we would support this. Oh my God. Y'all know those banners are like $5,000, right? That's what we paid for each of them. We did them twice. They were like $5,000 each. I'm just letting y'all know. So we would need a lot of people to throw in. I mean, I'd throw in and do it again, but we would need a lot to do it. I would tell Joe Petito this time too. I would let Joe Petito pick the message and not tell anybody. That's what I would do. But if he wanted to, or Rose. I don't. Okay. Let me come back. I stand by Chi that I don't think Cassie knew anything. I have a whole thing about Cassie. So anyways, y'all are funny. I don't remember where I was going with that. I got distracted by banner. So I can't look at y'all. That's what I'm saying. At what point was Gabby not alive with Brian? I want to say, didn't we determine like August 26th or something like that? Like right after the Mary Piglets eventually, he drove back by himself. Oh, I think honestly, I think, okay. I remember I was talking about my whole theory. Okay. Yeah. Let me type these up so I don't forget. I'll talk about two things. Theory. Okay. Fun, just talking theory. Yes, I'm going to expand on neat and tidy in about 2 seconds. That one, yes, I keep getting distracted. So I want to address Caldwell's first. Don't I think she knew after the fact? I personally think that she knew before the fact. There was a time during that case where Brian Laundrie left Gabby Petito in a hotel in Salt Lake City and flew home to Northport to clear out a storage locker and then fly back. You hush, Kim. I can't help myself. Okay. A storage unit. Storage units are not that expensive. I think that it was a planning session. Personally, again, this is just me. I'm not trying to be speculative. I'll speculate, and the case has been closed anyway, so it doesn't matter what we speculate in. This is just me saying whatever. But I think that was a planning session. I truly do, and maybe that's where the letter kind of came from. Maybe. Then to expand on Tidy Little Bow, okay, and I'm going to not look at this so I can tell you all this again. Tidy Little Bow, basically. I find it strange that after spending all that time, effort, money in the Carlton Reserve, Roberta Laundrie walks in the very next day after the park is reopened to the public and finds Brian. This finds like some remains, like backpacks and stuff, where like 30, 45 minutes in, if that, right? Like she's not in there very long and she finds this stuff. She knew right where to go, apparently. I find that very suspicious. Okay. On top of that, the day prior, they left the house for the first time and they did a bunch of errands. They went to AT&T or T-Mobile. They went to Walmart. They went to FedEx and shipped a package. We never heard anything about the package after that. I don't know who the package was to, where it went, but what I will tell you is that it's very easy to overnight a package, 8 a.m., 10 a.m., whatever, to get to somebody who could then go plant something somewhere for you if you needed to do it. Okay, I find it very suspicious. Again, part of me wonders if the FBI looked absurd with this whole situation. They spent a ton of money. It was so incredibly public that they couldn't come back empty-handed because it would have made everybody lose faith. And I almost wonder if that was not him. It was just said that. And it was just said that way just to put an end to it. Just to put an end to it. So my answer to your question, Katie Ann, is maybe. Maybe. They closed the storage facility. It's just like, I'm not trying to do a conspiracy theory on it. You guys know that I like to stick to facts and logic, which is why I really struggle with this, because part of it is just like how, like how did they spend all this time, effort, and money, these professionals with all of these tools to just, my point is like, if he was spotted somewhere in a couple of years and we saw it like on the cover of like a tabloid, I'd be like, huh. Parents of Brian were up for days. Yeah, remember they had a ton of planning sessions. Yeah, I'm very close to the case, but I have some more information than you guys do, but I don't have enough to be able to make that statement with accuracy. You know what I'm saying? They didn't find that many remains. They found bone fragments. Is all they found, Sandy. So that's anyways. It's just, yeah. I have no idea what the family thinks, by the way. Like I haven't gotten this idea from the family or anything like that. I have no idea what they think. I would never ask Joe that kind of a question. I would ask Rose that question. Well, here's the thing. They had dental, but I think Brian's uncle was a dentist. So, it's weird. And then it didn't even have to be real. It didn't even have to be real. It could have been like, oh, here's a John Doe. Here's some dental records. Let's put them together and say this is him so we can get this off. I don't think it's hard to find anyway, especially Brian. I don't know what they FedEx. That I would love to know what they FedEx. I don't think it's that hard to hide anybody, especially Brian Laundrie. Think about, if you guys go back and remember that case, how many people got mistaken for Brian Laundrie, including people whose hotel rooms got busted into when they were asleep. How many? I mean, there's a ton. There's a ton of people. It's just yeah, he's incredibly basic. That's a great way of putting it. He's basic looking. He's incredibly generic. Let's remind the YouTube people what they look like. And I can't show you all pictures, but I can show YouTube people. Look at this guy. We're not going to show him with Gabby because he doesn't deserve that. There we go. Let's put this up here. I don't want to see that. I want to see this picture. Okay, well, it's not giving me what I want, but I can maybe. Oh, whatever. I'll still show it to you guys. Window. Look at this guy. He's incredibly generic looking, right? Like he's incredibly generic looking. He's 20, like early. He's like what, 22 here, 23 here, and he looks like he's 40. Can you turn the phone around? Because y'all are in a thingy. I'll just go to YouTube. Caldwell, you follow me on YouTube. There, that's him. There you go. That's what you get. Let's go to YouTube. I want y'all to follow me there anyways. But he's so incredibly, people. There's so many people that look like him, right? And he's like, I see people who look like him. Yeah, everybody. This guy is generic as fuck, y'all. He is so generic looking. Did I ever get paid by the company who ripped me off? Which company ripped me off? I forget who we're talking about. Thank you, Heather. You hate YouTube. Well, I hate TikTok, but here I am. Yeah, I have no idea how YouTube chat works either. I use a thing, but they know how to do it. They're all chatting. You can also do it on Twitch or Twitter. I'm on there too. But anyways. Okay, I'm going to be a little crass here, guys. Hey, in Bristol, I'm in Nashville. I'll be a little crass here, guys. It's getting later. Somebody said maybe pewed himself, basically unalived himself, prior to the flooding, became a snack for the Gators. Maybe. But, hey, Heather, thank you for coming over. You're one of the cool kids now. But here's the thing. A Gator's not going to, this is going to be really crass, guys. I'm sorry. A Gator's not going to eat him and shit out all of his parts in one spot. They're going to rip him apart, and he's going to be all over the place and not in one little area where he was found in all this one little area. Oh, thank you, Christine. I appreciate that. He's not going to do that. It's weird. It's just weird. Hey, Christine. Or if it was flooded, he would have floated away all over the place. Gotcha. That's a good point. But there's not as many people over there, so. Yep, there was reserve flooding, 100%. He was how old? I think he was 20. I'm going to look at it exactly. How old was Brian Laundrie? 23. He was 23. Gabby was 22. His birthday was November 18th, 1997. There you go. Yeah, Christy's a cool kid too because she came out. All the cool kids are coming over to YouTube. You graduated with 12 guys who look just like him. When do I think you'll be able to hear about my call with Joe Petito? Whenever he gives permission. I'm guessing probably after. I would imagine after they get a little bit further. I would imagine probably after everything is settled in all the court cases would be my guess. Yeah, I find it funny how Roberta search is better than the FBI with Joe. Yeah, that's the thing. If you guys are missing something, call in Roberta Laundrie. That should be her new gig. Finding lost things. You lost your keys, call Roberta Laundrie. Can't find where you put your phone, call Roberta Laundrie. AirPods are a big one. Call her. She'll find them. Roberta Laundrie, guys. Do I think he could have planned the trip to do it? I don't think that he planned. Oh yeah. Yep, the bounty hunters too. Brian Laundrie would be older than 24. 97. He'd be turning. What year is it? He'd be turning 25 this year. I like it too. Do I think he could have planned the trip? Okay, so no, the great question, Caitlin. No, I don't believe that it was planned initially on the trip. He did not have a criminal record. No criminal record at all. 26. Yeah, that's right. I can't do math. This is 2023. Anyone know if Brian Laundrie had a funeral? Yes. So he did have a funeral. The uncle being rich, having numerous properties, I believe was a rumor. I'm not 100% on that, but I believe was a rumor. Anyone know if Brian Laundrie had a funeral? Yes, he had a funeral. It was private, very private, like family only. So nobody was there. No witness, but it was just, fragments anyways. What are the updates in the Petito case? I don't know if it was a huge update. It's something we've already kind of talked about before, but it was the letter that Roberta wrote. They released, I think, a couple more. Not really even released a couple more things. They just talked about it tonight. I don't really think there was anything new about it. Was it with these young men running back to their parents after crimes? Because they're little bitches. That's why. They need mommy to come bail them out. Yeah, I kind of am on YouTube. I think he's still alive in his family placings in that area. I mean, I'm not saying that I believe that, but I'm not saying I don't believe that. Thank you for coming over from TikTok. Now, Smokey, you're one of the cool kids also. Yeah, okay. So I need to ask a good question. You guys, y'all are, yeah. Correct me if I'm remembering wrong. Wasn't there police surveillance on the Laundrie's home and she slipped out without them knowing? There was supposed to be police surveillance on the home, but kind of, sort of, he slipped out without them knowing, and they supposedly confused Brian with Roberta or Roberta with Brian. I think they confused Roberta with Brian, if I remember right. Any update on the woman missing by husband Brian? No updates. He's in jail for her murder. I remember right? Okay. Where was I born? Indiana. I lived there for 3 months of my life. Faster, stop that. Yeah, they got Brian confused with Roberta. That's what they did. Or vice versa. Yeah. But TikTok's funny. Yeah, they went to go pick up the car. It was so, again, it was all very strange. The whole thing was, Convenience, a good word. It was all very convenient. Okay, so I am half Jewish. I'm not 100%. My dad's Jewish. My mom was Catholic. Trained around. Yeah. They don't have a bunker under the garden. It's really hard to build down. And interesting. There's a lot of Hoosiers in Indiana or in Tennessee. I went from Indiana to Illinois to Memphis to Atlanta. I lived in Miami at one point, then moved back to Atlanta, Fort Lauderdale, and then moved to Texas, and then now Nashville. You live in Indiana? I'm sorry. I was born there. I'm allowed to say that, Ashley. I was born there. I have a friend who lives in Indiana, and I always give him a hard time. He lives in Indianapolis, or that area. Well, thank you, Heather. And I always give him shit for living in Indiana, especially because it used to be part of my territory for work, and I had to go up there all the time when it was cold. And I would always talk about how miserable it was. I was in Miami for about a year. I lived in San Antonio. We're going to get to Coburger in a minute. Yeah, I think the police department tried, but I think they got a lot. You live closer to Kentucky? Okay. So you live like on that toward that like Louisville side kind of area. I forget what that's called. I used to go over there too. But I used to say to my friend, I'm like, he'd be like, it's not that bad really. And I'm like, is that y'all's like state motto? Like, it's not that bad really. So thank you, Lala, for switching over. Welcome to the cool kids spot. Chattanooga is fun. All right. We're talking about Petito. Let's talk about Coburger. Took some notes. Hold, please. Okay, so there weren't too many updates tonight on Banfield about COVID. And if you want to see the whole thing, by the way, for anybody who's doing this, thank you, Kathy, for the follow. If for anybody who's interested in seeing the whole Banfield episode, we talked for about 15 minutes and put Banfield on, which is done by Brian Enton. You can go back and watch it because when I'm done, you can go back and watch it. Thank you, Barb, for the follow also. You can go back and you can rewind even while I'm live and watch that Banfield if you want to see it. But the key takeaways when we're talking about Brian Coburger and things going on with Moscow, Idaho, the public defender, Ann Taylor, has, I guess, negotiated her salary and is now going to be getting $200 an hour for 40-hour work weeks. Basically, that translates to $8K a week or $380K a year, and that's all without overtime. So, and that's being paid, funded by the taxpayers. And then the 911 call, because a lot of people have asked about that. It was Ethan's best friend that made that. Here's the thing. It was what everybody saw. The kid, no, first of all, she didn't name the name, and number one. Number two, you don't know that it wasn't the kid that talked to her. And y'all, I think are being really hard on her. She's a reporter. This is what they do. Here's the thing. Y'all want the information, but then y'all don't want the information. Then when you get the information, y'all like criticize the reporters for the information. It don't work that way. Nobody's going to get hounded for it. He made a 911 call. No name was given. He's not like, think about how people, now I'll tell you what's lying, the people who harassed the roommates and everything afterwards. That's crappy. The people who harassed innocent people. Not that bad Missouri model. Well, that's funny. People just like being mad, guys. People just want to be mad. Liz and I were talking about this. When it comes down to well, here's the thing. Okay, but here's the thing. I get what you're saying. I mean, it's what they get paid. We would want a good defensive convicted. 100%. If you're paying for a private attorney, this is a public defender. This is not you know what I'm saying? Like, if she was private practice, charge $1,000 an hour, The phone call was made from Dylan's phone. So yes, Dylan, I believe, was there. Anyway. So People like being mad. Alyssa and I were talking about this too. Like, even when it comes to cases, people just want a conviction. Like, you want Brian Koberger to be guilty. You want Brian Walsh to be guilty, which, I mean, he is. You wanted Amber Heard to be guilty, unless you're one of the few people that wanted Johnny Depp to be guilty. You want people just want people to be guilty, man. People like to be angry, and they like people to be found guilty. Yeah, your divorce lawyer is $250. Yeah, apparently it's supposed to be like $100 an hour is apparently like the average. Now, public defenders still get a paycheck. They still get paid by the state. That's what I'm saying. Instead of getting her normal rate that she was getting paid by the state, she apparently almost doubled her salary for this case. And they brought up a very good comparison. Yeah, she's still going to defend him, but she's still a public. Again, why should the taxpayers of Idaho be responsible for paying her more money than any other public defender in the state? You know what I'm saying? Why should the taxpayers of Idaho be spending double what a different attorney could do to defend this guy? No, she's definitely not trying to get out of it. Alex Murdoch is not going to walk away. He may walk on murder, but he's got 105. Yeah, they did raise it. He has 105 financial charges against him. He will definitely be going to jail, probably for the rest of his life on those. But he might not get found guilty for murder. I think that's a very possible scenario. She is salary, but the salary is now $200 an hour for 40-hour work weeks, $8,000 a week. Is she the only one in the area that can do a death penalty case? She's one of 13 people, I believe, in the state that can do a death penalty case. I think she's the only one in northern Idaho. Yeah, no, that's a great point too. That's a great point. Not to mention the amount of money it costs to keep him in prison and the cost of the death, and all the years up to the death, and appeals and everything else that's going on, and the court proceedings, and the prosecution, and the hours being put into building the case, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, she did. Yeah, she did negotiate that. Why? He definitely killed them or had someone do it. Are you talking about Murdoch right now? I think that the evidence, they don't have enough good evidence. I think the evidence is circumstantial at best at the moment. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Even if Alex Murdoch gets off for murder, he's going to jail. Oh, they'll find a jury. They found one in South Carolina for Alex Murdoch. They found one for Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, which you're not going to get much more high profile than Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Johnny Depp's certificate. She's not billing 40 hours a week. She's probably billing more than 40 hours a week. She's probably billing more than 40 hours a week because they think that was without overtime. Because there's no way in hell you're doing a case like this and spending less than 40 hours a week. It's literally not possible. I mean, I don't know. We're going to see because the tape of him. I mean, that's the thing is all they have is circumstantial. There's a lot of people. I don't think that it's over till it's over. I think there's been some really compelling stuff that has come out on the case. It's all going to be working out. It's believe me, if she negotiated $200 an hour is what she agreed to, it's not so she can bill 20 hours a week. I can 1000% guarantee that. Lawyers typically are especially lawyers like that, trial lawyers are typically very greedy. If they're good, they're even greedier. So I guarantee you it is going to be there's going to be a lot of billable working hours. And I would imagine that the number is going to end up being more like, I agree, it's probably not going to be 40 hours a week. I think it's going to be something like probably 60 to 80 hours a week. And that's not including what she's going to have to pay her team that helps with her for discovery, for looking through all the other evidence, helping to build things, research, etc. Paralegals. A lot of money involved here. A lot of money involved here. Well, I don't think the 911 call is a rumor. I don't think it's a rumor. I think that everything that they've reported has turned out to be true when it comes to this kind of stuff. The My Hourly Rate, which is average, allows Ann Taylor to have 1,000 hours on the case. And I guarantee you there will be 1,000 hours. Yeah, there you go. But you're not a public defender. Completely separate, Miranda. I have a playlist called Murdoch Murders. It is not a very, your question is not a simple one because it's a very complex and convoluted answer. But I did a brief explanation of it. I have a thing. Have I covered Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell? Not yet. I think I'm going to, though. I think I'm going to. Yeah, I'm not trying to be rude. I promise you. It is such, Miranda, it is such a bizarre case. It is such a bizarre case. Like, incredibly bizarre. Like, and every time you think you get it, like, my brief explanation is still not enough. Like, my point, she's not getting paid that money weekly, monthly. She gets a salary probably every month or every 2 weeks. She's probably going to be getting it paid. She probably is. Lawyers don't like to not get paid. But we can respectfully disagree with each other. My brother's an attorney. Judy's an attorney. Yeah, it's impossible. I actually, Anita, I ended up having to stop for the most part covering it because I can't even keep up with it. I would lose my job. It does. I agree with you to a point, Sandy. It can be a little harsh, especially at the beginning. Yeah, the Daybell case, I mean, it's sick. Yeah, I think he's guilty too. I agree with you. Talking about Murdoch. I agree with you. I think he's guilty too. Okay, so we talked about this theory. We've talked now a little bit about Murdoch. We talked about that. Okay, yeah, I want to talk about Nicola Bully. That I got 2 more things on my list that I want to talk about. Nicola Bully, there's no updates at this point. It's a weird situation. They're trying to convict on the financial crimes, and stealing doesn't negate murder. True. What they should have done, though, because I think you could have had a better chance of linking it to the murders, is if they would have tried the financial crimes first and gotten convictions, because they would have gotten convictions. I think he's almost pretty much said he was guilty on a few of them. Then you could have tied those back and brought them into this trial. I think they decided that I think the judge decided they were going to let him. See, this is the best way to describe Murdoch. So many twists, turns uphill, in a cave, down a creek, up over sideways, etc. It's a very weird case. No, I don't think drug cartels are related at all. To answer your question, what they're trying to say as far as it being related, they're trying to basically say that the day that Paul and Maggie Murdoch were murdered, have you heard anything about the YouTuber that got arrested in the bully case? I have not heard that at all. But they're trying to basically say that all of his financial crimes came to light pretty much that day. On top of that, he was starting to hurt for money. Maggie, his wife, had her own trust in her own state, which was worth about $5.5 million. On top of that, Paul, her son, had killed somebody, Mallory Beach, in a boating accident. And so he was getting ready to go to court. So he was a liability. So they're basically trying to say that that the reason I know it's a bit of a stretch when you hear it out loud. I mean, they've done a decent job, but they're trying to basically say that motive is the fact that he was trying to hide these financial crimes and gain sympathy by having somebody have murdered his wife and son. But they're saying that, the prosecution, one of their arguments is that, it's because of all these other things he was trying to hide. It's kind of not impossible, but that's a hard link to prove. You know what I'm saying? Like it's if you're an attorney, you know that it's a hard link to prove. Oh, his family is huge. The Murdoch family is huge. As far as like what they do. I'm surprised Emily's not in here tonight. So, yeah. Crazy case though. I want to talk about Adriana Cush, but I think I've talked about that one to death and I'm getting tired. Adriana was the girl that was bullied. Well, I'm going to talk about it real quick. Adriana was the girl that was bullied. And then a few days later, basically took her own life. It is a literal crime family with a that's a great way of putting it. Literal crime family with a legal background. And the schools had protests about them not really doing anything to protect it. And, to protect the students, letting this go on, this. I talked about Nicole bullying. I said there was no real updates in it. Because I know y'all asked me. There's just no updates at this point. And I have no opinions on what I think happened yet. I think it's a very weird case, too. It's in England, for those of y'all who don't know. I've done 1 or 2 videos on it. But there really hasn't been. She's a woman, young woman, went missing. I say young, mid-40s. Dropped her kids off at school. I think she was 40, right? Was she 46? It's getting late. I forget my facts covering all these things. I get it mixed up. Police are saying, here's an update. The police are saying that she had alcohol issues. She was 45 years old, went missing January 27th near a dog walk. She dropped her kids off at school. Her phone was found still connected to a work call on a bench. It was very weird. Yes, Cindy, there's 105 financial crime charges against him as well. Has there been any update on the surviving students of MSU? 4 of the 5 of them have had to have surgical intervention, but that's the last update that I've seen. I've had a lot of people in my comments on Adriana Cush and the MSU students trying to make it a race issue. It's very challenging. Racists always out themselves. No, Judy, I don't think that you're unreasonable in thinking that either. I think that that's kind of part of what they're trying to allude to. All right, guys, I am fading. So I think I'm going to run. If you enjoy, if you're new here, just kind of hanging out, if you enjoy the content of the conversation, please hit the follow button. I would appreciate it. For those of y'all who don't, as far as Adriana bully, though, I do want to say this before we go. It is not easy. I promise you that. For those of y'all who are interested in the Adriana bully thing, if you have the stomach and you want to see it, well, thank you. This is it's a Van shirt. I did post the bullying video on my Instagram. Thank you for the follow, Granny. If you want to go watch it. And the reason I posted it was for the video that I just posted where somebody was like, it was black girls attacking a white girl. It was race related. And I literally show in the video, you can literally see in the video that at least 2 of the girls are white. The third one, I don't know if she's white, black, or what her race is, because you can't tell. But I just get very tired when people take an opportunity like a 14-year-old girl's death to try to further a hate-filled ideology. I struggle with that. So anyways, if you want to see that, and also on top of that, from my Instagram, from when it comes out to the court documents, as far as, yeah, they're suppressing that video. That's why. Literally the last one I did it right before I got on here. But I did just put on Instagram the full video of the bullying because TikTok would have taken that down. And then I also put another case, which I will say this real quick before I go. There's another case that I did a video on that's still not really getting attention. The video is done really well. But there was a girl in Ohio, go figure, Ohio guys, 8th grader. And here's basically what the story was. I'll give you the slightly longer version. This is one that I think it needs really more press. And I put the legal documents on my Instagram. So I always put legal documents on the Insta. But basically what happened was 8th grade girl she plays volleyball. She comes to school. She's at her gym locker. Her friend comes up and says, hey, I got this vape pen. Do you want to smoke the vape pen with me? And she says, no, I don't really want to. And the friend says, well, can you hold it to me? Again, these are 13-year-old girls. So she doesn't want to make her friend mad. So she's like, okay, sure, put it in my locker. Administration finds out about the vape pen. I'm giving you all the real abbreviated version here. Administration finds out about the vape pen, searches her locker. And the girl's honest with her. She tells her that it was her friend. She says that the friend already took it back. They search her gym locker, don't find it. They search her main locker, don't find it. Then they take her back to the office and they strip search her. Basically, they made her strip down to just her underwear. They made her take her bra off. This is a 13-year-old girl. Parents weren't present. Parents didn't know about this. Okay. Take her off her bra. When she asked if she could put it back on, they told her no. So she's just like standing there in a pair of panties, and that's it. And yeah, it's really bad. It's not getting the press that it needs, unfortunately, because it's a huge violation. Huge violation. I mean, all the people who were involved were women. I think I'm gonna do a video tomorrow. I actually am gonna maybe do another video on it, and I actually got the pictures and of the people and their names and their positions. And so I'll do a video of who they are to call them out. But yeah, anyways, that's one that I think that y'all might find interesting. Again, those documents are on my Instagram as well. Where in Ohio was it? It was, I think, Eastlake. Give me a second. I'll tell you for sure. Hey, I'll tell you the school. If you give me just 1 second here. Oh, go to me. Where is it? Is this it? This is it. It's the Willowsby Eastlake City Schools in Eastlake, Ohio. The lawsuit was filed in Cleveland, so I'm guessing Eastlake is a suburb of Cleveland. Well, here's the thing. It's over a vape pen, too. Like, there's no reason to strip search a kid over a vape pen. It's not like it's a firearm or something that's going to cause harm to other people. So, okay, for those of y'all who are in Ohio, have y'all heard about this other than me? Like, telling y'all about this? For those of y'all who are in or near Ohio? Oh, there's a lawsuit. The lawsuit documents are on my page. Yeah. I would lose my shit too over the school. Yeah, she's an eighth grader. She's 13. She didn't do anything, is what she didn't do. Yeah. Okay. I just want to check, because I'm saying it's not getting a lot of press. She didn't do anything. She didn't do anything. She ended up, reluctantly holding a vape pen in her locker for a friend, gave it back, and they strip searched her down to literally her underwear. Yeah, I would be, oh my God, like, I don't even know what I would do. Savannah, Ohio schools made a mind. I did a video about it, and the legal documents are on my thing, but the recap is a 8th grade girl was forced to strip down because the administration thought she had a vape pen where she didn't. No, nobody's been fired. Nobody's been suspended. None of them. And you're right. And it doesn't matter if she had the vape pen or not. So here's a new thing to teach your sons and your daughters. Okay. For those of y'all who have school-age children. Okay. I would encourage you, and this is good advice for a period. I would encourage you to teach them this one line. I do not consent to a search. Call my parents. Teach them that. No, they're not fired. Teach your children, your school-age children, I do not consent to a search. You can call my parents. Teach them that line. It is 100%, I agree, sexual assault. Oh, no, there is a lawsuit. I have the legal documents on my Instagram. You can read the whole thing. You can read the whole thing. But anyways, teach your children that I do not consent to a search. Call my parents. If they ask them questions, call my parents. My mom is the juvenile probation officer for our county, and that is absolutely unacceptable. Wow. Yeah. No, she'll never get over that. That's incredibly embarrassing. I don't know, though, because I think the story's not getting any press. That's why. The video got like 300-something thousand views. I would love somebody bigger than me to pick it up, like Tiziant or Donish. I don't think Donish would. I don't think that's really his thing. He deals with more racism. Maybe Our Exorcist. Oh, 100% she was violated. That's more, especially at that age, it's mortifying. Hold on one second. This dog wants to get out real quick. Yeah, I agree. It needs to be pushed out. Oh, Zoe's out there. Is that what you want? You all got. The dogs are getting antsy, guys. Oh, stop it. You two. I'm sure she was scared. 100%. The video, I forget how far back it is, but it's there. And like I said, you can go read the whole document if you want to on the Insta page. It's not very long. I think it's 13 pages, but it's moves. You read through it pretty quickly. It might be 2 things of it. I think it's 13 pages, but it's double spaced. It reads through really quickly. It's numerically framed, so it won't take you very long to get through it. Pretty quick read. I think it's 13 pages in total. So if y'all want to read it, like I said, you can go do it there. It's having the thing is, girls already go through so much, right? Like, so having a daughter and watching them have to go through that, it's just, not cool. I agree. It should be on Banfield, 100%. That's why I'm talking about it. But it's up there. You guys can go see it. So, all right, y'all. I am calling it now. We could talk about this more. Like I said, I'll do another video tomorrow that calls out the people who did it. So that's what we're going to do. Your niece is a teacher in the summer clinic. Yeah, ask her what she knows about it. I'd be very interested to know with any feedback when we do this again. For those of y'all who are in Ohio. Tizzy did do a video? Okay, great. I'm glad then. I'm glad that he did. I'll go back and look at his page. All right. Guys, have a great night. It was fun, and we will do it again real soon. All right, bye, guys.